the daily life of a secret agent in American TV series. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Omaha XX. My name is Jesse McCree. My E-skill is Flashbang. My ultimate skill is Sharpshooter. I can instantly kill enemies with less than 30% health within my sight. Ron took a step back and calmly took the woman's hand away. Skills? Ultimate skills? Is this a special way to pick up girls? Christine took another step forward, but before she could finish her words, Ron closed the door. Ron was confused outside the door. He knew very well about women's love for him. He didn't think he was a gentleman and couldn't remain calm. But even if he was an LSP, he was an LSP with aesthetic taste. Men's physical strength was also precious. He couldn't eat prey that was a little bit inferior. Ron decisively chose to push open the door of Sheldon's apartment. In the room, Howard was showing off his latest smart voice function on his phone. Look, this is super cool. Calling Leonard Hofstadter. Phone voice. Do you need to call Helen Boxleitner? Howard was a little embarrassed, so he took the smart key again and said to the microphone in the most fluent English, No. Calling Leonard Hofstadter. Phone voice. Do you need to call Temple Bathside? Let me try. Leonard took the phone over. Calling McFloro McFrooney Lugulu. Leonard casually read out a made-up name, but a magical thing happened. This time the phone actually recognized it, calling Rajesh Q. Sapari. Rajesh, what are you queuing me for? The next second, his phone rang. Rajesh took out his phone and looked at it. It was called from Howard's phone. It's really high-tech, but it's a little racist. Have you had enough of mocking stupid technology? Can we start playing Halo? It should have started at 8 o'clock, and it's already 8:06, Sheldon complained to his companions dissatisfiedly. Let's start now. Sheldon sat back in his seat on the sofa with satisfaction. We must first figure out how we should make up for the lost 6 minutes, cut down on game time, toilet time, or meal time, and Ron pushed the door open at this time. Or you can adopt an elimination system, and let the person with the lowest score take a break and do those chores after each game. I'm willing to be a substitute. After a day of fighting and killing, playing a game to relieve stress should be a good choice. What's more, as a poor PC player in his previous life, he only dared to buy games on Steam when they were discounted. He hasn't played a home console yet, so he doesn't know if it's good or not. No. Ron. Sheldon hates anything that breaks tradition. This is a complex combat simulation game that places very high demands on players. Players must learn countless weapons, vehicles, strategies and tactics, not to mention the complex story background. Sheldon kept talking, and Ron finally couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted. Sheldon, what do you think my job is? I bombed a laundry shop in the city with a rocket launcher this morning. Sheldon immediately retorted, impossible. The use of heavy firepower equipment is prohibited in the city. You can use your phone to search for the latest news now. Ron pointed to Sheldon's phone on the table, and Sheldon of course did it immediately. Then Ron was finally satisfied to receive a shocked expression from Sheldon. Okay, you won, but you can't play right away. You can only start as a substitute. Ron nodded indifferently. Anyway, he didn't know how to play games very well, so he just learned it off the court. The 5 of them sat down one by one and were about to start, but the door was pushed open again. Ron just opened the door with the key and didn't lock it. Sheldon finally went berserk. What the hell happened again? This time it was Penny who came in. Sorry Ron, I didn't notice her harassing you in the bedroom just now. Hey, can I stay here for a while? Ron just had time to shake his head to show that he didn't care, and Leonard immediately became a dog licker. Of course. What's going on over there? There's a girl, her old acquaintance Kristen from Nebraska. She told me on the phone that she was coming to California, and she really came over and wanted to live with me. Howard looked at Ron with envy. Living under the same roof with 2 beauties. I envy you, my man. If you promise that your mother will not use Jewish means to keep me in your house, I'd be happy to switch with you. Ron shrugged. Sheldon pointed to the time on his watch unhappily to remind everyone, it's 8:08. Leonard immediately made a gesture to keep quiet and continued to pretend to listen to Penny. Penny continued to complain. Since she came here today, she has been whining in my room about the men she has slept with in Omaha, which is almost all the men in Omaha. She also washed the most XX underwear you can imagine in my bathroom, and Howard had crawled over from the sofa like a hungry wolf when Penny started talking, listening hard to not miss any details. Ron lay down on the sofa helplessly and asked Rajesh, "So, you still haven't dealt with the tattooed girl in the bar last time, right?" Rajesh shook his head first, then nodded, and seeing that Ron still didn't understand, he whispered in Ron's ear, "It was going well at the beginning, but Howard finished too quickly, and I didn't have time to get on the court." Ron rolled his eyes. Is this a typical case of being both a wimp and a playful person? I really don't know how he will conquer Bernadette in the future. She is a gymnastics goddess who has mastered countless postures. Sheldon threw the game controller helplessly. "I'm sorry for my outburst just now. With the folk tale of the Omaha horse flea to be passed down, who would want to play Halo?" Leonard said against his will. "I don't think she is a horse flea. No, she is definitely a horse flea. She has no principles at all." Once we were, Penny suddenly stopped halfway through her words. "Wait, where's Howard?" "Good evening, miss, I know you are new here next door." Howard's voice of flirting came from Ron and Penny's apartment, and Ron felt nauseous. This boy is really not picky about food, but when he thought about the last time with Lily who weighed more than 300 pounds, Ron was relieved. At least this one was of normal size, and Howard didn't have to press the F key. But in this case, he couldn't live in his apartment today. A very realistic problem was where to sleep at night. Although they were brothers, Sheldon would definitely not be willing to share his bed. Chapter 52 Max's Thoughts. Just when Ron was struggling with the question of where to sleep that night, his cell phone rang at the right time. It was a text message from Caroline. "Ron, can you go home with me? I mean the villa that was seized. My bite is dislocated and I need to go back to get my retainer back, of course, my baby." Ron edited the text message and stood up. "It seems that it will be difficult to play a good game today. Then I will go out for activities and I will not come back tonight." How can controlling a virtual character to fight with others in the game be as fun as playing games with Leg Beauty Caroline? "Hey, Ron, can you take me with you?" Penny stood up together. Although Ron had never shown any interest in her, she had been coveting Ron's strong body for a long time. She didn't mind a friendly match. "Sorry, Penny, even for a temporary partner, I have very high requirements. You can verify this with Rajesh." "So sorry," Ron said, and without waiting for Penny's reaction, he walked away with a swagger. Really, what's the fun of having fun with Penny who is mediocre in every aspect when you can't play with Caroline's breathtaking long legs and Max's unparalleled huge penis? This is also one of the reasons why our Ron casually gave Penny to Leonard. A girl of Penny's level may be considered a beauty in the eyes of ordinary people, but for Ron, it is far from enough. Penny stomped her feet in hatred and looked at the innocent Indian. "Rajesh, is Ron's partner really more beautiful than me?" Rajesh nodded awkwardly, and Penny immediately began to regret why she asked and humiliated herself. Caroline had been waiting at the Channing's house, or the former Channing's mansion. What Ron didn't expect was that Max was there too, which made Ron a little nervous. However, with his many years of experience as a Sea King, he looked normal. "Ron, you're finally here. Can you help me climb onto the roof? So I can sneak in through the skylight, just like when I was in high school, when I bribed the people who installed the security system when I was 15, so that they wouldn't install the skylight sensor." "Caroline, are you from somewhere? Are you going out there to date your Romeo?" Max had a teasing look on his face. Ron felt that she already knew about the relationship between him and Caroline, but she didn't show it. "Max, I didn't know Caroline in high school. At that time, I was in a small high school in East Texas, cleaning up the mess from my brother who had a physical body in elementary school but got into high school and offended people everywhere." Ron spread his hands helplessly. Max definitely knew about it. This was a test. Caroline still didn't realize how subtle the atmosphere was, and was completely immersed in her happy childhood memories. "Sometimes I sneak out, just to look up at the stars and daydream." Max and Ron rolled their eyes in tacit understanding. "Your life back then was my daydream back then." Ron quickly changed the subject. "But if you sneak in, it's not that troublesome at all. You wait here for me, I'll be back soon." Ron immediately found an excuse to leave the awkward atmosphere. The security of the rich is very powerful. Don't be funny. Ron didn't believe that the gate of the Channing family's mansion could withstand the bombardment of his Type 63 cannon, but after all, it was Caroline's former home, and it had just caused trouble during the day, so it was not convenient to cause trouble again. But this does not mean that Ron has no other way. 10 minutes later, Ron returned to the two women. Done, let's go in now. Ron walked directly to the door of Channing's house. Caroline stood there, panicked. Wait a minute, Ron. There are sensors and surveillance everywhere. Once the alarm is triggered, the guards will be here in 5 minutes. I know, Mr. Channing told me. Ron blinked, but don't forget what I do. I have just turned off all the sensors here, and by the way, I adjusted the surveillance footage to loop the footage of the past hour. No one will find us. If you like, Her Royal Highness can even sleep in her castle tonight. Ron gentlemanly made a knight's salute and stretched out his hand to Caroline. In his palm was the key to Channing's house. Doesn't Her Royal Highness miss the big bed that once belonged to her? Yeah. Caroline jumped up excitedly, jumped into Ron's arms, gave him a big kiss on the mouth, took the key, ran quickly to open the door and got in. Hey. Do you have any objection to my bed? Max tapped Ron on the shoulder while Caroline was going crazy to vent his dissatisfaction. If you have any objection, you can never come again. Anyway, in fairy tales, princes and princesses always live happily together. How could it be? Isn't it the story of Cinderella? Ron hurriedly explained, but the more he explained, the worse it got. Max's beautiful eyes glared at him unkindly. In other words, you think you are a prince? An inferior person like me in Los Angeles is really not worthy of being with you superior people. Max was about to leave, and Ron quickly pulled her into his arms. Max struggled hard for a few times but failed, so she let him hold her. Ron took this opportunity to quickly whisper in Max's ear, well, Caroline and I have known each other for a long time, you know this. Caroline is in this situation now. As a friend, I can't ignore her, but I don't want to lose you either. Okay, I'm a bastard. Ron simply acted like a rogue. Anyway, he didn't make any love promises on either side. One thing that is very different between the American and Chinese people is that they are generally more open-minded in this regard. There are many couples like Ron and Max. Of course, in most cases, couples usually play with each other and do not need to be responsible for each other, but there are also some who become lovers after being together for a while. After changing their relationship, they basically settle down and start to become like the couples that are accustomed to in China. It is obvious that Max now has some signs of this, which Ron finds very useful. How are you going to tell that delicate girl? Max twisted seductively in Ron's arms, and Ron immediately stood in order. Of course, tell the truth. Ron was shocked by Max's restless twisting. If it doesn't work, I can convert to Mormonism. What do you think? Max is really awesome. Chapter 53 A Night at the Channing House. Mormonism is a small branch of Christianity, unique to the United States. The doctrines are not important. The most important thing is that polygamy is encouraged. I have to say that Ron has made a good calculation. Regardless of whether he plans to get married or not, at least these words are enough to coax Max. Ron felt that Max's body seemed to be softer than before. Hey. What are you two still doing outside? Come in quickly so I can close the door and turn on the light. Caroline poked her head out from behind the door, and the two hurriedly separated with guilt. Fortunately, Caroline did not find anything unusual. Why is this floor so elastic? Max felt something strange under his feet as soon as he walked into the house. That's the carpet. Caroline turned on the light, and the luxurious interior of the mansion immediately made Max stunned. She swore that she had never seen such a luxuriously decorated house in her life. Oh shit, Max exclaimed. Impossible, impossible. Is this the kingdom of Narnia? I'm going to say something I never say, OMG, even though this sentence sounds lame, it's really the only one I know. Was this sentence invented here? Max, this is just my closet. Caroline waved her hand calmly and looked around with nostalgia. This used to be her private space, but now nothing has changed. You have a house to live in with your clothes. Max was shocked. Look, Max, like Columbus who discovered a new world, found a new focus, a row of furs that were obviously worth a lot of money. You are so rich. Okay, I knew you were rich before, but I had no idea. You are really rich. What you said makes me shy. Wait, where did Ron go? Caroline gathered her hair unnaturally. He was with us just now. I went to find some good things. Ron came in from the door and shook the things in his hand in front of the two of them. Sorry, I took 2 bottles of your father's collection without the owner's permission. Ron brought the real Ramani Conti produced in 1982, not the kind that he could never finish in his previous life in China. These 2 bottles of wine were treasures that Mr. Channing himself was reluctant to drink, and he planned to save them for the real big day. But he didn't expect that he would be imprisoned early. "They don't belong to my dad anymore." Caroline's tone was a little sad at first, but it immediately changed to a cheerful tone. "So, why don't we drink it now?" "That's what I meant." Max didn't bother to play with Caroline's shoe grill, and quickly came over to grab a wine glass. Ron poured wine for the two beauties and raised his glass to make a speech. "I originally wanted to celebrate the princess's new life and the free life she had always dreamed of, but this kind of life doesn't seem to be very comfortable." Max glared at Ron in dissatisfaction. "So, I wish you two success in your cake business." Max nodded with satisfaction. "Cheers." The three wine glasses touched each other in the air. Caroline, who had the worst alcohol tolerance, immediately became drunk, and Ron had to help her back to her bedroom to rest. In fact, when Ron went to get the wine, he called Jack. After the old house of the Channing family was sealed, it was temporarily placed under the management of the Ministry of Justice. It had some connection with Jack, so Ron called Jack to ask him to do a favor and drag away the security guard in the monitoring room who he had just knocked unconscious. Otherwise, with a security force in the Noble Rich area, someone would change shifts or patrol every once in a while. Unless the three of them were very careful and didn't even turn on the lights, it would be difficult not to be discovered. When Ron returned to the cloakroom, Max had disappeared. There was a sound of water coming from the bathroom next door. Ron pushed open the door with a distracted mind. The beautiful scenery inside was as he expected, and he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. "Your Highness, aren't you going to kiss your sleeping beauty to wake her up?" Max glanced at Ron with a seductive look, while scrubbing the long arms exposed outside the foam. Ron was in awe again and swallowed hard. "This girl is really too tempting. Caroline, I know her too well. The wine just now is enough for her to sleep until dawn." Ron pretended to wipe the sweat that didn't exist. "Honestly, what do you feed Caroline every day? Why does it feel like she's getting heavier after just a few days with you? You don't know how tired I am to carry her to the bedroom. I'm sweating all over. I might as well take a shower." Ron unbuttoned his shirt naturally and walked towards Maximum. 10,000 words omitted here. "I'll get better by myself, you know." The next morning, Ron was woken up by the alarm on his phone. Ron was about to rub his sleepy eyes, but found that his arm was pressed tightly. When he lowered his head, a canyon named Max was clearly visible. Ron had to gently put Max's arm down and look for his own clothes in the messy cloakroom. There was no way. When Max was having fun yesterday, he didn't know what had happened, and he actually thought of the idea of playing cosplay with Caroline's clothes, and Ron readily agreed to it. Although there was a slight difference in their body shapes, Max could still fit into Caroline's clothes, and each piece looked tight, which made Ron very excited. He talked about the philosophy of life with Max all night, and didn't fall asleep until dawn. However, while having a great time, it also meant that Ron had to clean up these traces before Caroline woke up, so that she wouldn't find them. Maybe it was because the noise Ron made when he was packing up the house was too loud, but Max woke up drowsily. "What time is it now?" 8:30. Max, who was still half asleep, was startled and smiled. "Oh no. I almost forgot that I have a babysitting job in the morning at 9 o'clock. I have to help Becky take care of the twins." "Don't worry, don't rush." Ron threw Max's clothes to her. "Maybe you haven't noticed that Becky lives in this community. It doesn't take you 10 minutes to walk there. If you want, you can have breakfast before leaving. I've already prepared it. It's in the kitchen." "Really?" Max slowed down his movements. "Do you know where the kitchen is? Caroline's house is so big that I almost got lost when I went to drink water at night." "Of course it's true." Max's eyes were sharp, with a hint of jealousy in them. "It seems that you really know Caroline's house well. You must have come here often before, right?" Ron turned on Aquaman mode without blushing or beating his heart. "Yes, in fact, I had a lot of work dealings with Mr. Channing before, and I also met Caroline at that time." Max could not see any flaws on Ron's face. In fact, she didn't care much. They were not in a relationship. It was just that she felt a little unhappy when she thought that Caroline could be with Ron legitimately while she could only be sneaky. "Fortunately, you are handsome enough, and I just happen to like you. P.S. 1 update tonight, and 3 updates tomorrow. Everyone supervise together. If you can't do it, just scold me in the book review area. In fact, I stay up late every day and want to sleep early. Thank you for your forgiveness." Chapter 54 Fried Chicken Uncle. Max had breakfast and went to another part-time job, and Ron had no intention of doing morning exercises with Caroline. After a simple wash, he drove directly to the city center. Gower Street, not far east of the famous Hollywood Boulevard, is affected by the crazy popularity of Hollywood. The flow of people here is not much less than that of Hollywood Boulevard. Unlike the situation on Hollywood Boulevard where boutiques are the main stores, this place is mainly a variety of restaurants. There are both high-end and fast food, and the taste is basically good. Ron's goal is a store called Brothers Fried Chicken here. The name of the store is in Spanish, and most Americans know a little bit, and Ron is no exception. He walked to the counter. In addition to the busy staff in red uniforms, there was also a black man wearing glasses and a yellow shirt, who looked very friendly and elegant, standing next to the counter. "Do you need anything, sir?" The black man in the yellow shirt smiled very kindly and asked, acting like a professional service staff. People feel happy just by seeing his smile. If the restaurant where Max and Caroline work could have such a service attitude, the short Korean would have made it long ago. Ron put his hands on the counter and said, "I want to see your manager, Gustavo Flynn. I heard that he can be found here, sir. This is me. Are you dissatisfied with our service and want to complain?" The black man continued to ask kindly, just like chatting with Ron's neighbors in Texas. Ron's eyes became sharp. This man is really not simple. His drug-making laboratory was blown to pieces by him yesterday, but he can still play the role of a good man here today. From his appearance, he doesn't look bad because of yesterday's incident. From this point of view, he is very cunning. Ron took out his ID and waved it in front of Flynn. "I'm from the IRS. I'm here to collect taxes. I think someone has already notified you, right? Collecting taxes? If I remember correctly, I've already submitted the tax registration form for this quarter, and my fried chicken shop's taxes have always been filed through an accounting firm of my relative, and it's not yet the corporate tax filing season." Flynn pushed his glasses and continued to explain calmly with an extremely kind look, and Ron clearly felt a strong murderous aura from the moment he lowered his head just now. Yes, murderous aura. Ron would never make a mistake. It was because of this keen perception of murderous aura that he had brushed shoulders with death countless times during his agent's mission. This is interesting. Ron has already revealed his identity, and he already knows what Ron has done, so why is he still acting now? Ron thinks that this guy is likely to have obsessive-compulsive disorder or a histrionic personality. "Of course I'm not talking about your fried chicken shop, but your other business." Ron smiled evilly, tapped the table with his ID, leaned forward, and whispered in a voice that only Flynn could hear, "That's what you did in the laundry. That's a lot of money. I can arrest you for tax evasion now, right? But you don't seem to want to let the employees here know. You want a normal life, right? I also think that ordinary people's life is very suitable for you, but it seems that many people have lost this kind of life because of you, right, Uncle Fried Chicken?" Uncle Fried Chicken was the nickname that Ron gave to Flynn when he and Hank discussed the case. It means using the fried chicken business to cover up drug transactions. Ron checked Flynn's information. Although he looks very young because of his race, he is actually not much younger than old George. It's not wrong to call him Uncle. In addition, although Hank looks very old, he is surprisingly only 8 years older than Ron. Fried chicken a set, right? Customers choose to pay in cash. Please find a seat and wait for a moment. I will personally deliver it to you right away. Uncle Fried Chicken calmly ordered the meal for Ron before anyone else noticed this, and took out change from his pocket to pay for him. The IRS has a very bad reputation in the United States. It has always been a timid person. No one can ever take a penny out of their pockets. They always take money from other people's pockets. Flynn doesn't think he can be an exception. "Okay, I'll wait for you over there." Ron pointed to a seat by the window and walked over. There were not many people in the fried chicken shop in the morning, and there was no one around, which was very suitable for talking about things. In less than 10 minutes, Uncle Fried Chicken came over with a meal he ordered for Ron. "Can I sit here?" Of course, Ron took the plate and ignored Uncle Fried Chicken who was sitting opposite him. He grabbed the fried chicken and started eating it in big mouthfuls. While eating, he did not forget to comment, "To be honest, this is really the best fried chicken I have eaten since I came to Los Angeles. I really don't understand. It is obvious that you can be successful in your fried chicken business honestly. There is no need to take risks in the drug business. So, what are you thinking?" Uncle Fried Chicken did not answer but asked back, "Aren't you afraid that I will poison you? Or let the gunman kill you? You know, this is my territory." It is really a very unwise idea for you to come here alone. You know how much I want you to die now." As he said, Uncle Fried Chicken made a gesture, and a small red dot immediately appeared on Ron's temple. "There is a sniper here." "Of course I'm afraid, but you won't be alright if I die." Ron was eating while lifting up a corner of his clothes nonchalantly. Under his clothes, a digital watch-like thing could be vaguely seen, tied together with a bunch of other messy things. Ron chewed hard twice, spat out a piece of chicken bone, and smiled mischievously. "Electronic bomb, tied to my heartbeat. Do you want to try how loud it is?" Uncle Fried Chicken shook his head awkwardly. This round, Ron won. Everyone has the right to pursue a happier life, right? The fried chicken uncle finally calmed down, changed his gestures, and the little red dot on Ron's head immediately disappeared. But human desires are endless. The profits of the fried chicken shop are nothing compared to another bigger business. Aren't you guys eyeing it? Although the fried chicken was delicious, the taste was a bit strong. Ron was thirsty after eating it, so he grabbed the Coke next to him and took a big gulp. "You are right, but as far as I know, you don't seem to spend much of such a large sum of money. At least according to your neighbors, your living expenses seem to be exactly the same as the income of your fried chicken shop owner. So, what I don't understand is that you want so much money but don't spend it. What do you use it for? It can't be more comfortable to sleep on it, right? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Tax Collection. Uncle Fried Chicken said something very philosophical. Whether to spend or not is different from whether you have money or not. Money is something that you can feel at ease as long as you have it. Ron felt that Director Zhaoan in the name of people would definitely give him a thumbs up when he heard this. It was just what he was thinking. If they knew each other, they would probably have a lot to talk about. However, Ron was not here to discuss the reasons for drug trafficking with him today. Okay, put these things aside. I'm not here to talk to you. Anyway, everyone I have met has their reasons. I think we can all go on The Voice and have a good chat. It will definitely increase the ratings. Ron took out a tax registration form from his pocket and slapped it on the table. "Why don't we have a good chat about how much tax you have evaded in your business over there in the laundry?" Ron's other hand under the table moved slightly, and with a crisp click, the bolt of the large caliber Smith-Wesson revolver quietly opened under the table, and the muzzle was aimed at Uncle Fried Chicken. "Now, I can send you to see God with just a flick of my finger. I suggest you fill in a number that satisfies me on the form. My bonus and department funds for this year all depend on it." Ron did not hide his greed at all. Uncle Fried Chicken frowned slightly. He hated people talking to him so forcefully. Even if he had received instructions from the big man behind him and planned to bleed him, he did not want to hand over the money under such coercion and humiliation. "What if I say no? Don't forget, I also have snipers outside. I want to bet whether your bomb is real," Uncle Fried Chicken said, the most fierce threat in the kindest tone. From an outsider's perspective, looking at the expressions of the two people, one might even think that they were two good friends chatting. "Ho, congratulations on your guess." Ron took out the thing from his clothes. It turned out to be an MP3 and several large batteries tied together with tape. It really looked like a bomb. Uncle Fried Chicken could not help but feel angry. He was just tricked by this thing? Ron's hand on the table made a gun-holding gesture, pointing at Uncle Fried Chicken's head. "But who told you I came alone? Your source of information seems to be outdated, my dear friend." Ron slowly raised his hand in the shape of a gun, and when it was level with Uncle Fried Chicken's head, a small red dot appeared on Uncle Fried Chicken's temple. Uncle Fried Chicken's kind and smiling face finally showed a trace of panic. This direction is his own sniper. When was he killed? Finally caught up, Ron secretly wiped his sweat in his heart. Fortunately, Hank was quick, otherwise this beep would have almost failed. It turned out that Ron had called Hank before going out to discuss today's plan. Ron pretended to go to the fried chicken shop alone to meet Uncle Fried Chicken and attract all attention. Hank went back to the base first to get a silencer pistol, responsible for cleaning up the bodyguards and thugs brought by Uncle Fried Chicken. Ron did not expect the sniper. He never thought that Uncle Fried Chicken could be so cautious, and he just happened to choose a window seat. Of course, it is possible that the other party deliberately induced him to sit here. Fortunately, Ron was well prepared. He used the human bomb trick to shock Uncle Fried Chicken at the beginning, and then took the opportunity to secretly send the sniper's coordinates to Hank via text message. With his deliberate plan and Hank's good skills, he quickly eliminated the sniper and aimed his gun at him. The rhythm just matched Ron's estimated time, so Ron's extremely pretentious scene just now happened. Okay, how much do you want? Uncle Fried Chicken has always been more of a shrewd businessman than a drug dealer, and decisively chose to compromise. If Ron narrowed his eyes, let me calculate. According to your little genius, he can produce nearly 800 kilograms for you at a time, and the price of these goods outside is $35 per gram. Tut tut, a net income of $28 million at a time. It's amazing. Ron's tone was extremely sarcastic. If possible, Uncle Fried Chicken wanted to pull the safety of the grenade, stuff it into the big mouth that kept opening and closing in front of him, and blow his whole head into pieces. But unfortunately, the initiative is now in the hands of the other party. There is a large caliber revolver under the table pointing at him, and there is a sniper rifle outside pointing at his head. After Uncle Fried Chicken became famous, he has never been so embarrassed. Let me think about it. According to the 14% tax rate for recreational marijuana, which is now legal in Los Angeles, your product is obviously much better than that. Even if it is twice as much, it is not an exaggeration, right? Ron smiled slyly and continued before Uncle Fried Chicken said, also, take into account the local 10.5% luxury tax. Wait? Why is there such a thing as a luxury tax? Uncle Fried Chicken was stunned. Luxury tax is of course because it is a luxury product, so it has to pay luxury tax. Ron said as a matter of course, the price of $35 per gram, no matter how you look at it, it should be a luxury product like caviar, right? Of course, if you have any objections, I welcome you to complain to the FBI? What's the difference between turning yourself in? What should I say? Hey, there is an IRS tax officer here who is collecting taxes from me. The powder I sell is obviously super good, but they are charging me high taxes as luxury goods. Do you believe that the FBI agents will arrest you with a smile, and then use Uncle Fried Chicken's money to hold a whole month of parties, and write a thank you letter to Ron? Okay, I'll give it to you. Is there anything else? Uncle Fried Chicken's hand holding the pen was shaking a little. He was just angry. He had never seen such a shameless person. Of course, your business is also considered food no matter how you look at it, right? After all, they are all eaten. In this case, it should be considered food tax, and although there are no quarantine procedures, the tax cannot be ignored. In total, I'll calculate your tax rate at 70%. Ron counted the numbers one by one for Uncle Fried Chicken, and finally slapped the table and said with a righteous look, Chapter 56. This disease is contagious. How is it? This tax rate is not high, right? As for the part of the tax you missed before, I think a total of $10 million in fines will be enough, and we promise not to pursue it in the future. Uncle Fried Chicken was almost angry to death. 70%, this is not high? Paying $70 in taxes out of $100, which is equivalent to saying that I work for you? However, Uncle Fried Chicken did not intend to bargain with Ron, because he knew that there was no possibility of reasoning. No problem. Uncle Fried Chicken leaned over the table and began to fill out the tax form. Seriously? Here is a check for $10 million, but this time the tax will probably take a few days. My goods have just been delivered to various sales points, and the payment has not yet been returned. Uncle Fried Chicken handed the tax form and a check that had just been signed to Ron. Ron took out a tax payment certificate that he had prepared long ago, signed his name on it and handed it to Uncle Fried Chicken. If it weren't for Ron's pistol under the table and Hank aiming at them from a distance with a sniper rifle, it would have looked like a full contract signing by a business person. Happy cooperation. Ron put on a happy smile on his face and took the initiative to reach out and shake hands with Uncle Fried Chicken. The IRS's reward ratio for recovered taxes is 30%. How much is 30% of $10 million? A full $3 million. With so much money, if I buy a few courtyard houses in the capital before China hosts the Olympics, I'm excited just thinking about it. I don't have to struggle for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, this idea can only be thought about now. It's 2007 now. Although China has always welcomed foreign investment, there are still restrictions on the types of investment, generally limited to industrial types. Ron is not sure whether this kind of hype will work. Maybe he can find a professional to ask. Sure enough, It's still the fastest way to get rich by targeting drug dealers, and he achieved financial freedom in an instant. Unfortunately, the money did not belong entirely to him. When Ron reported his intention to take down drug dealers, he was told that he might be given the greatest law enforcement authority and various initial financial and material support, but these were not free and had to be repaid, and double. In total, the rent for the munitions in Ron's secret room and the office location together would cost the IRS headquarters $500,000. And since Ron's special operations team was independently operated, there was no funding except for the salary of all members according to the establishment. In other words, although Ron could freely use the money, he had to keep a large part of it as department funds, such as giving bonuses to Hank and Andy, and purchasing other equipment. It's really not pleasant to work with you. Uncle Fried Chicken's hand touched Ron lightly and then he quickly took it away and wiped it gently with a tissue, as if he had just touched something dirty. Ron didn't care at all. He pushed people to this point, and he was not allowed to lose his temper. Uncle Fried Chicken's face was not good at all. Thinking of the money he just took out, his heart was like bleeding. But there was nothing he could do. Who let Ron take advantage of him today? Ron returned to the car and drove to the agreed meeting place with Hank to pick up Hank and leave. "How is it, boss?" Everything went well. Hank sat in the co-pilot's seat, wiping the newly captured trophy with care and asked casually. It was a Soviet-made VSS silent sniper rifle that used 9mm bullets. It is a common shooter sniper rifle in PUBG. Generally, no one would pick up a passerby weapon if there is a choice, but its power in reality is not as bad as in the game. It is not a problem to penetrate ordinary bulletproof vests within a distance of 400 meters. In addition, it has the advantages of small recoil, easy to carry and conceal, which makes it a weapon that cannot be ignored. Of course it's going to go smoothly. What else can he do? Ron was so happy that his mouth was almost grinning from ear to ear, but when he saw the gun in Hank's arms, he frowned slightly. "So you like to use a sniper rifle?" "Of course. In fact, when I served in the army, my position was a sniper, sir," Hank said very proudly. "Well, if that's the case, maybe I can help you change a more suitable weapon. I just earned a lot of funds from Uncle Fried Chicken. Just tell me what weapon you like. Don't worry about the money." Ron patted his chest and promised with great pride. He was so willful when he had money. He also planned to replace all the computers in the office after he returned, and replace them with the most advanced computers on the market now, so that he could play games in the office when he had nothing to do. "No, it's enough for me to have him." Hank touched the sniper rifle in his arms lovingly, and his technique was extremely gentle. Ron suspected that he had never been so disgusting when he touched his wife at home. In the city, the distance from the bunker to the target is usually no more than 300 meters. At this distance, there is nothing better than this little treasure. It is concealed, has low recoil, and can be immediately supplemented with a second or even a third shot after a shot misses. "Shoot again? That's so troublesome," Ron said with disdain. "Why not choose to get it done with one shot?" "But even the most skilled sniper can't guarantee that every shot will not miss, and my level is still a little short of the best level." Hank admitted the fact that his level was not enough. Ron objected seriously. "No, it's just your inertial thinking that's playing tricks on you. Who told you that only hitting the target can be considered a sniper, isn't it?" Hank asked back. "If you don't hit the target, how can you achieve the goal of killing?" "Why not?" Ron's face was full of holy brilliance, and he turned on the missionary mode. He wanted to use the advanced concepts from China to educate the backward-thinking elements of the United States like Hank. "The purpose of sniping is to kill the target, right?" Hank nodded. "Isn't that nonsense? But who says that this can only be achieved when the bullet enters the target's body? What other ways are there?" Hank's expression was a little confused. "What else can he do if he doesn't hit the target?" "You are too narrow-minded." Ron shook his head and sighed. "Have you ever thought that if your firepower is strong enough, such as using a cannon, even if you don't hit the target itself, but only hit the area around the target, the impact and fragmentation damage caused by the explosion are enough to kill the target, and you don't even need very precise aiming? Well, the disease of insufficient heavy firepower is contagious, and it is transmitted from person to person. Hank is currently being infected by Ron." Hank's expression wavered a little. "Is that really the case? But weapons like cannons don't seem to be very convenient to carry, right?" Chapter 57 Car Accident Scene. If it's a large caliber artillery, it's indeed inconvenient to carry, but if it's a high-performance weapon with a moderate caliber, High explosive projectiles, easy to carry, and with a certain aiming ability. I believe no one can refuse it. Ron's tone was like a devil tempting people to fall, and Hank's expression was no longer as firm as before. He even imagined the scene Ron described, and when he looked at the VSS in his hand, he actually had a hint of disgust. But, does the weapon you said really exist? Hank asked with some expectation. Of course. Now please allow me to introduce to you a weapon from the other side of the ocean that possesses the mysterious oriental power, the ALG 540mm sniper grenade launcher. Ron unconsciously used the salesman tone he learned from Yuri Orlov. It is produced by Norinco, with a maximum range of 2,200 meters, an accurate shooting distance of 1,000 meters, and a total weight of 25 kilograms. It is fed by a drum magazine with a maximum capacity of 15 rounds. Believe me, this is what a real sniper should use, but a sniper rifle like this, no. I mean, will the grenade launcher be very expensive? Can our budget afford it? Hank is indeed a good employee, always thinking about his boss's wallet. Ron finally laughed in his heart, and the real purpose was revealed. Of course it is very expensive, but for my dear men, I am willing to bite my teeth and buy it from the arms dealer. However, in this case, your bonus may be a little less. Do you mind? This is the United States, the capitalist world. As a quasi-capitalist, what kind of capitalist is it if you don't exploit your employees? Of course I don't mind. As long as I can have it, I would rather give you 3 months less bonus, Hank said hurriedly, fearing that Ron would not bite after he finished speaking. There is no harm without comparison. Originally, he may have thought that a sniper rifle that can fire like a submachine gun and has a small recoil is very useful, but now with the weapon described by Ron, his heart is like a cat scratching, itching. 1 month's bonus is enough, don't worry, I promise you will see it tomorrow, Ron promised. Give Hank 1 month less bonus, and it is the month with the highest performance bonus, and then he can buy it at a discount price because of his good relationship with Orlov, saving at least $5,000 in expenses. Unfortunately, Ron didn't know what kind of office equipment Andy wanted in particular, and he hadn't figured out how to convince him to give up the bonus. Otherwise, he could save a lot of money. Ron praised himself for his careful budgeting again. It was a pity that Toretto was no longer in Los Angeles, otherwise he could have asked him to help modify a few cars. On the 41st day without Toretto, he missed him, and still missed him. After sending Hank home, Ron didn't go home, but drove to Beverly Hills to pick up his mother and the big guy Mike adopted by Mr. Tosi at Mr. Tosi's house. Originally, Ron was going to send Mike to his father in Texas for a tryout, but since his mother was going back and expressed her deep love for Mike on the phone, Ron was happy to have some free time. However, when he drove to Rodeo Drive, there was a car accident at the intersection ahead. A freight truck almost deformed the side of the pickup truck. The police quickly intervened and blocked part of the road, causing congestion. Hey, men, it's one of us. Ron raised his police cordon and showed his ID to the police and said, "What's going on inside?" "Hello, sir." The police saluted Ron respectfully and said, "You may not believe it, but a big guy who is almost 2 meters tall and looks older than my father is actually a high school student who just got his driver's license. The car he drove was the one that had the accident. This guy is really amazing. He was able to protect the white boy in the passenger seat in such a critical situation. The child was not injured at all. Can you believe it?" "Sir, not injured at all," the police said in an unbelievable tone. The more Ron listened, the more familiar it became. A big black high school student who looks older than his father? And a white boy, the combination can't be such a coincidence, right? Can I go see them? I guess they might be my acquaintances. Of course, they're over there, sir. The policeman pointed Ron in a direction. SJ was talking to the nurse next to the ambulance. Based on Ron's understanding of this little brat, he was probably bragging. Not far away on the steps, where SJ couldn't see, the big guy Mike was crying and shaking his head to refuse the doctor's treatment. The beautiful female doctor was helpless. This is really a kind child. No wonder the Tosi couple was willing to adopt him. Ron shook his head and walked towards SJ, who was covered in blood. "Hey, little guy, I wanted to ask if you were okay, but you look healthy." Ron was a little confused. The policeman clearly said that the white boy was not injured. "Of course. Do you think the blood will flow out of my clothes?" SJ proudly lifted his clothes and showed Ron his abdomen without any wounds. "I thought you were almost dead." "Okay, you talk to the nurse first, I'll go see Mike." Ron consoled him and turned to leave. The nurse behind him immediately started to inquire about Ron and SJ's relationship and contact information after Ron left. SJ muttered dissatisfiedly, "I'm handsome too, okay? Don't you really want to consider being my girlfriend? I can give you half of my candy." Haha, the nurse laughed so hard that she bent down and kissed SJ on the forehead. "Maybe I'll consider it when you grow up a little, but you're too young now. Why don't I give it a try?" Ron suggested to the female doctor. "Hey, Mike, look up at me. Do you remember who I am?" "I remember you. You are the child of Mr. Taozai's friend. Annie said that your family are all good people." Mike raised his tearful face to look at Zhang Ron. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't protect SJ well." The big Mike started crying again, blaming himself. "Hey, listen to me," Ron said in a stern tone, and Mike stopped crying temporarily. "You have done very well. SJ is not hurt at all. You are almost a good brother, you know? But do you know what you are still missing?" Mike was attracted by Ron's words and shook his head. "You haven't become a good role model yet. A good brother should be a role model for his younger brother, and I have never heard of any role model who can let his blood flow freely like you are now. Do you want SJ to learn from you in the future?" Mike was silent and shook his head again. The female doctor came forward, and Mike finally calmed down and did not refuse treatment again. Chapter 58, Daily Life of Taozai's Family. "I didn't expect you to be good at raising children. I heard Ms. Mary say that your brother is her greatest pride. I think there must be a reason why you, a good brother, serve as a role model." "No, Sheldon is excellent in himself." Ron knew without turning around that it should be SJ's mother, Mr. Tosei's wife, Ms. Leanne, behind him, or he is too excellent, so excellent that he doesn't seem like a normal person. Ron swore that he definitely didn't lie against his will. Can a treasure boy who planned to build a nuclear reactor in his home at the age of 10 to power the whole town be a normal person? The most important thing is that he almost succeeded. This is probably excellence, right? Can SJ take your car later? I want to talk to the child alone. He looks very guilty. Leanne carefully found that although Mike stopped crying, he was still a little depressed, and immediately guessed the reason. Of course, Ron readily agreed, and said something good for Mike. "I don't think you will blame him for this, right? That guy chose to protect SJ at the first time. It can be seen that he really treats SJ as a family member." "Who do you think I am?" Aunt Leanne looked a little angry. "Of course I know whose credit it is that SJ was not suffocated by the airbag that was deployed at 220 kilometers per hour. Ron had to stick out his tongue mischievously and pull SJ into the car. "Ron, can you change to a more violent song? Even my dad doesn't listen to the songs in your car." SJ sat in Ron's passenger seat, and because of his short height, his two short legs were swinging under the seat. This action was very unsafe, but Ron didn't say anything. Whether it was safe or not mainly depended on who was driving. With the driving skills that Ron copied from Toretto, even if someone in the passenger seat played a boy-girl game, it would not be affected at all. "Okay, what do you want to listen to?" Ron turned off the What a Wonderful World played by the uncle with a schoolbag mouth and opened the glove box and asked. SJ looked around inside, and found no discs from this century, except for old songs from the 1960s and 1970s. He closed the glove box in disappointment, and lay back on the backrest like a little adult in anger. "Your taste is just like an old man. I really don't know what my sister likes about you." "Your sister likes me? How did you know? Could it be that you, a little kid, made it up?" Ron was a little surprised. He had an impression that the daughter of the Tosei family was a very cute little girl, who inherited the looks of her mother, Leanne, and would definitely be a great beauty who would not lose to her mother when she grew up. But how could she like him? Although he was indeed very handsome, if Ron remembered correctly, she should have only met him a few times in total. Is it true that women's worldviews are determined by their appearance? I have secretly read Colin's diary. The little boy raised his body with a smug look on his face, and said with a smirk, "Do you want to know what's in her diary? I don't have the hobby of snooping into other people's privacy. I advise you not to do this in the future. If Collins knows, she will definitely take good care of you." Ron rolled his eyes without curiosity. Although Collins is really beautiful, is he a man who lacks women? Of course not. What's more, with the relationship between the two families, if he gets involved with her, he will probably get married, right? Marriage is the grave of love, and the oath is the epitaph of a free life. Ron doesn't want to be trapped so quickly. Tisk SJ lay down again in boredom, I can't stand you hypocritical adults the most. Big Mike is more fun, I say. After Mike joined your family, did you feel a little uncomfortable? Ron asked SJ tentatively, like feeling that your mother's love was taken away. How could that be? SJ retorted loudly. I wish my mother would pay less attention to me, so that I can have more freedom. My dream is to be a football coach, like your father. Mike is my first player. SJ crossed his arms and pretended to be mature. I trained him. How is it? Isn't he great? He looks good physically. Even if he can't play football, playing basketball is also a good choice. I just don't know how good his skills are. At this point, Ron was a little itchy. With a father who is a coach, he was also a member of the football team when he was in school, and he was the most watched quarterback on the court. How about you two compete with each other later? SJ suggested with a smirk. He was very happy to see Ron being defeated by his men. I'm a quarterback and he's a tackle. How can we compare? Ron saw through SJ's little thoughts and refused. Although his strength should not be much different from that of Mike, who has not grown up yet, it does not mean that he wants to sweat before eating. That is too damaging to his image. There are ladies in the Tosi family. I almost forgot. Ron took out a bag from behind the seat and handed it to SJ. This is a gift for you, a Longhorns hat. SJ shouted happily, tore open the package and put the hat on his head, looking left and right in the makeup mirror. So handsome. How about it? Does it look like your dad? Squeak. Ron braked suddenly and almost threw SJ off the seat. Ron slapped SJ's hat down to cover the boy's eyes. Little brat, who taught you this? Teach me what? SJ pushed his head up in dissatisfaction, staring at him with innocent eyes. What are you adults thinking about every day? I regard Uncle George as my idol. I heard that he will sign a contract next year and become the coach of the Super Bowl, right? Which team will he go to? Where did you get the gossip from? Ron himself had never heard of Uncle George. But if he really goes to the Super Bowl, it should be a local team in Texas. You know, he has always had a lot of feelings for Texas. The road was short, and Ron and SJ chatted casually and arrived quickly. Ron noticed that when Mike got off the car, he had come out of his depression and became cheerful again. He and SJ went to the backyard to practice hand-in-hand like two idiots. Mr. Tosi was not at home, and lunch was made by Ron's mother Mary. It tasted as good as he remembered, but the only thing that made him feel a little uncomfortable was that after SJ's reminder, he noticed that Colin's eyes seemed to be a little wrong when he looked at him. She was so clingy that she almost wanted to stick to him. When Ron looked at her, she immediately looked away like a frightened deer, pretending to look at something else. Even Leanne and Mary noticed her abnormality, but the two mothers didn't say anything. Instead, they smiled like ants from time to time, whispered to each other, and then laughed together. Chapter 59. You are still young and can't control it. Ron was struggling with the meat pancakes his mother made. When Mary called him, he raised his head, with crumbs on his face. What's the matter, Mom? Here. Collins pretended to be casual and quickly handed over a tissue. The little brat SJ's head slowly emerged from under the table like a crocodile emerging from the water, and he let out a malicious "oh." Collins was so angry that he picked up the onion rings and threw them over. Leanne and I are going to see a charity project together later. Can you please take Collins back to school? She has a cheerleading training today. If you are not busy, it would be best if you can wait for her there for a while, and you can come back for dinner in the evening. Mary and Leanne, two middle-aged ladies with charm, smiled at each other, and all the plans were self-evident. However, this made Ron suffer. He was thinking about how to avoid Collins. Good mother, I have an appointment with Yuri later to discuss the purchase of equipment. It's a big deal worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in a hurry. Ron had to bring out the king of war. Yuri is very good at dealing with people. After establishing a long-term cooperative relationship with Ron, he would take time to visit Ron's parents and send gifts every Christmas Eve. The Cooper family had a good impression of him. Don't worry about work. I can call Yuri and ask him to wait for you tomorrow. Mary took out her mobile phone, but she hesitated to dial it. The threat was self-evident. Collins was a little worried and began to take the initiative to help Ron out. Will it be too troublesome? If it's inconvenient, no, it's not a trouble at all. Ron interrupted the little angel. Collins' words under Mary's gaze. Collins' originally frowned brows were happily relaxed, and he nodded and smiled at Ron, looking better than before. Oops, it's a heart-thumping feeling. Ron hurriedly lowered his head to continue eating. SJ, who was sitting opposite him, took off the onion rings that his sister had just thrown at him from his head. He looked at Ron, then at his sister, and ate the onion rings in small bites, laughing. "What are you laughing at, little brat?" Ron glared at him fiercely, and SJ glared back, saying, "I'm so good to you. I've decided that your Christmas gift this year is a set of test papers. Wait for me, little brat, or you'll cry." 15 minutes later, Ron, who had been delaying time by eating, was finally taken away by Mary, who couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed into the car. She hinted blatantly, "Be careful on the road. I just discussed with your Aunt Leanne that we are not going to make dinner tonight. You can eat something outside and come back." "Ron, remember the gentlemanly manners I taught you?" Ron rolled his eyes. "Mom, you can just tell us to go on a date." In the car, Collins was the first to break the silence. "Thank you for sending me back to school, Ron. I didn't affect your work, did I?" "No, it's nothing anyway. I can let my men go to discuss the purchase of equipment." Ron pretended to beep again. This damn conditioned reflex. Every time he saw a beautiful woman, he couldn't help it. "Do you need me to park the car at the door later? I know high school students are always talkative, and they can say anything. If I make your boyfriend angry because of me, I will feel guilty." As soon as the words came out, Ron had an urge to slap himself. Why can't I control my mouth? Sure enough, Collins smiled. "I don't have a boyfriend, and I don't plan to date those little brats in school. They are too naive and don't know anything." Ron was almost overwhelmed by Collins's gaze, so he had to choose to expose himself to reduce her favorability. It's even more dangerous to fall in love with someone outside. There are more scumbags. For example, "I am dating 2 women at the same time." Ron tried to dispel Collins's idea by belittling himself. It's not that Ron was not moved, nor that he had a change of heart. The main reason was that whether it was Max or Caroline, because they were strangers with no relationship, he could get rid of the scum without any psychological pressure. Anyway, the other party also liked his scum, but Collins was different. She came from a wealthy family with good family education, and this kind of wealth was different from Caroline's family. Caroline's family was mixed in the social circle, which was a very chaotic circle, so Caroline's worldview had always been relatively open. Collins comes from a conservative Christian family. Don't think that Americans are open-minded just because you watch 2 movies or American TV series. This is wrong. No matter where you are, only some people are open-minded. The Tosi family happens to be another part of the group. And in terms of the relationship between the 2 families, if something really happens, Ron will be responsible. This responsibility is the same as the responsibility in China, that is, to marry Collins home. "I don't believe it." Collins smiled even happier than before. "You are not that kind of person. No one would do such a thing and say it out loud. There are people like this in our school. They always hide it carefully, for fear that others will know." "I really am." Ron was speechless. "Girl, you use your intelligence in the wrong place. You are still young and can't grasp the thing about love." "Okay, then take it as you are." Collins crossed his arms and looked a little angry. He got straight to the point. "But since you have been dating 2 women, why can't you have one more? Is it because I can't compare to them?" "Of course not." Ron smiled bitterly. "You are different from those other women outside. You are too simple and kind, and you know the relationship between our 2 families. If something happens between us, we will definitely get married. Otherwise, I will feel sorry for Uncle Taozai and Aunt Leanne. That is to say, in your heart, I am the most special one." I don't know what he thought of. Collins' eyes almost smiled into 2 crescents, looking full of cuteness at this age. "Hey, how did you hear it?" "That's not what I meant," Ron argued. "So you think I'm the same as them? Then why can't I?" After going around in circles, Ron was confused for some reason. He would rather take a nail clipper and go to fight Uncle Chicken's men. "Okay, you're different. You're the most unique." "Okay." Ron simply gave up the treatment. Fortunately, the car had already arrived at the school. Ron finally breathed a sigh of relief. He just wanted to find a quiet place while Collins was training. Unexpectedly, Collins not only did not get out of the car, but also stuck to him. Before Ron could react, he quickly kissed him on the face. Ron turned around in astonishment, but saw Collins's face, which was already blushing. "Our training will take about 2 hours. Others are allowed to watch from the side. Can you wait for me and take me to dinner?" After saying that, he hurriedly opened the car door and got out of the car. He ran out a few steps and turned back. In Ron's puzzled eyes, he knocked on the car window. Ron had to put down the glass. "Also, I'm not young anymore," I'm already see, and then she blushed and walked away again. Hey. Who told you this? P.S. God knows how long I spent thinking about this. You are welcome to comment and leave a message. I don't know if I have grasped that feeling. Chapter 60 Chinese Restaurant Fun. Ron looked down at his palm. It was see, I can control it, I can definitely control it. Wait, what am I thinking about? Ron shook his head awkwardly. No matter what, he didn't want to hurt a kind-hearted and simple-minded girl like Collins. So, how to prevent her from getting deeper and deeper into his trap was a problem. This dinner became even more important. Collins couldn't be misunderstood too deeply, nor could he be too cold. Just when he was worrying about where to eat tonight, Ron's cell phone rang. It was Sheldon's call. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Because of their incompatibility, Sheldon rarely called him even though they were brothers. The last time he called him was when he and Leonard's pants were pulled down by Penny's bully ex-boyfriend. Since he was bored now, Ron pressed the answer button with a malicious look. My stupid brother, let me guess why you called me this time? Did someone take your pants off again? Or were you finally stuffed into the locker by your colleague who you couldn't stand anymore? None of them. Why are you asking? Sheldon asked in confusion. That's a pity, Ron sighed. Sheldon finally came to his senses and said angrily, Ron, I'm going to tell Mom. Okay, little boy who likes to tell Mom. What do you want from me? I want to ask, can you have dinner with us tonight? Sheldon used a requesting tone, which was a good start, but Ron didn't buy it. He looked at the calendar on his phone. April Fool's Day had passed a long time ago. What was Sheldon trying to do? Can I know why? Normally, you wouldn't ask me to have dinner with you, right? Because of Howard. Sheldon's tone became angry and uncomfortable. That idiot was taken away by the shameless woman brought by Penny. But we are going to have Chinese food tonight, and we can't order without Howard. Is it because Howard is not here that we can't order in Chinese? Of course not. The root of everything comes from Sheldon's ridiculously strong super-obsessive-compulsive disorder. Sheldon has a long-standing tradition of eating Chinese food every Saturday, and the dishes he orders are the same every time, and they are measured for 4 people. Ron is very curious about what expression Sheldon will show when he finds that the number of people eating at night has increased from 3 to 5. Okay, I accept your invitation. Give me a seat and be there on time at 7:30, Ron readily agreed. God is my witness, he didn't promise that he would go alone. And there is another advantage, that is, when there are more people eating, the atmosphere between him and Collins can't be ambiguous. If his mother asks, there is a sufficient reason. He wants to introduce Collins to his family. Perfect. Ron, who's calling? Collins, who had just finished training, walked out of the gym with the scent of shampoo after taking a shower. In the envious eyes of a group of suitors, he boldly hugged Ron's arm. My brother, Sheldon, you should have seen him at my birthday party. He is the big boy who put himself in a spacesuit in the middle of summer and looked like a psychopath. Ron shrugged. He just invited us to dinner together. What do you think of Chinese food? Everything is up to you. Collins smiled sweetly and carefully leaned his head on Ron's shoulder. Forget it, let's take it one step at a time. If it doesn't work, the scumbag seems to be good too. It takes a total of 30 minutes to drive from Collins' school to the Chinese restaurant designated by Sheldon, but with Ron's driving skills, it only took 20 minutes to get there. When Sheldon, who was waving to Ron, saw Collins close to Ron, his face suddenly fell, but Ron didn't intend to indulge his bad temper. Waiter, please add a chair. Rajesh, who was sitting alone on the side of Ron, squeezed out the chair and made a gesture to Collins, who couldn't help but laugh with his hands covering his mouth. The nerdy trio, except Sheldon, were all stunned. Where did Ron kidnap this beautiful woman from? Isn't this amazing? Hello, my name is Collins Tosi. I'm sorry to take your seat. Collins generously extended his hand to Rajesh, whose seat was taken away, but the poor Indian opened his mouth and several times but couldn't say a word. This reaction was beyond Collins's expectation, and she looked at Ron helplessly. Don't worry, he is not so angry that he can't speak, but he has selective mutism. He can't talk to women without drinking some wine. Poor guy. Ron patted Rajesh's shoulder and pulled Collins to sit down together. Leonard Hofstadter, experimental physicist. Nice to meet you, Leonard said stutteringly with a spring in his heart. You'd better deal with your penny first. Ron slapped Leonard's outstretched hand unhappily. Why are these nerds like this? They are eating from their own bowls and looking at other people's bowls. Ah. When did Penny become mine? Leonard covered up with a guilty conscience. Ron threatened with a sharp look. Then guess if I hook my finger tonight, will Penny appear in my bed? Leonard immediately hung his head like a defeated little rooster. He knew that as long as Ron was willing, Penny would not mind having a friendly match with him. Although Ron mentioned other women in his threat, Collins was still as usual, and even felt a little sweet in his heart. Is this also jealous of me? I have to say that women who fall in love really have zero IQ. Girl, open your eyes and take a good look. This is obviously a scumbag, okay? Ron. I need an explanation, only Sheldon declared his presence with an unhappy face. Explanation? What explanation? Ron raised his wrist and looked at it knowingly. I don't think I'm late. I mean, why is there one more person? So what? Did I say I came here alone? Ron looked at Sheldon's constipated expression and felt relieved. After waiting for so long, wasn't it just this moment? Sheldon explained seriously, let me explain to you, we always order like this. The first steamed dumplings, then General Tso's chicken, broccoli beef tenderloin, dragon boat live fish and vegetarian lo mein. How about it? Found the problem, so? I think you are the problem. Ron gave Collins a look that said look, I'll tell you, put his arm on the table, and continued to enjoy Sheldon's performance. Our entire ordering system is based on 4 steamed dumplings, 4 dishes, and 4 people sharing. Sheldon pointed at Collins. There is one more person here. Collins couldn't help laughing. Ron had told her on the way how weird his brother was. At first she thought Ron was deliberately trying to make her happy. How could there be such a person in the world? But now, she saw it with her own eyes. Chapter 61 I need to change the delivery address. My stupid brother, this is easy. Ron waved his hand to stop Leonard who was about to speak. You including Collins, continue to share your 4-person meal, and I will order a separate meal for myself. But they are placed together. Sheldon continued to be naughty, but after so many years of being brothers, Ron had already read Sheldon's pulse. You can think of me as a phantom in a parallel time and space sitting with you. How about that? Is that okay? What is that? Collins whispered in Ron's ear, and her breath made Ron's body and heart itch. This girl is so good. The most terrifying thing is that she didn't realize these at all, and it was completely subconscious. Sheldon uses the spell in the manual. Ron stared at Sheldon. How? Okay, let's do it. After careful thinking, Sheldon finally compromised and ate well. After dinner, Ron rejected Sheldon's suggestion to play Halo together and sent Collins home. How can games be as fun as women? Although Collins was the type that Ron couldn't touch, it didn't stop him from driving to Max's place on the way back. But when he was about to do this, some problems arose. Goodbye. Collins was reluctant to leave. Ron waved and got in the car, started the car, and just drove out of an intersection. The phone rang again. FXXK, Ron cursed inwardly, took out his phone, and planned to see who was ruining his date, and then turned it off, but found that it was a call from the big boss, so he had to give up. Boss, good evening, I remember you never call me at night, Ron complained, but he didn't dare not answer the phone. Frank's voice was as steady and powerful as ever. I need you to do something, Ron. What is it? I want you to go to Miami, now. Immediately, right away. Frank's tone was unquestionable. Miami, Ron screamed. What was his boss going crazy about in the middle of the night, actually wanting him to go from Los Angeles on the west coast of the United States to Miami on the east coast? And immediately. This means that he is now going to cross the entire United States. Boss, can I know why? Ron asked, relying on the considerable contribution he had just made. There was silence on the other side of the phone for a moment. Just when Ron thought he could not get an answer, Frank's voice finally rang again. Ron, can I trust you? Of course, my boss. Ron heard a hint of frustration in Frank's tone, which he had never heard since he met Frank. In his eyes, Frank has always been a resolute and decisive person. He is also a very politically skilled person, and he is even known as the whip in the party he belongs to. I've been betrayed, Ron. Frank emphasized the word betrayal. That good-for-nothing cornhead fool succeeded with my help, but he actually betrayed our agreement and planned to hand over the position of the new Secretary of State to Michael Cohen. In one sentence, Ron immediately understood the seriousness of the matter, and finally put away his impatience and frivolous smile. So, what can I do for you, sir? This is the moment to stand in line. But Ron chose Frank's faction, which now seems relatively weak, without hesitation. There is only one reason, that is, he and Frank have reached a strong consensus. The cornhead who was born as a businessman in Washington is a fool. I want you to get the evidence of collusion between Carter Varren and Michael Cohen. Before he was caught by the FBI had already set off. So I need you to set off immediately. Frank's order was concise and to the point. Behind every famous politician in the United States, there is at least one white glove who is responsible for laundering funds of unknown origin and doing some small business. Carter is obviously one of them, but he is just too stupid and follows a not-so-smart boss. No problem, my boss. What do I need to do? Ron was very smart and did not choose to continue to explore the issue of high-level game. That was not something that people of his level could mess up. As long as he did what he should do, he could continue to run rampant under Frank's protection, just like now. Do you really think that the FBI and the CIA, which Ron used Andy to make a fuss about, have no way to deal with Ron? What a joke. No matter how strong Ron is, he is just one person. What those restless forces are really afraid of is Frank standing behind Ron. I need you to leave immediately and buy the nearest flight to Miami. When you get off the plane, call the number I sent you. That's Monica, the undercover agent placed by the Customs Department next to Carter. The FBI thought she was one of theirs, but she's actually one of ours. She'll take you to where you need to go. The fewer people who know about this mission, the better. So, it's best if you're the only one doing it. Any other questions? Frank's tone was extremely serious. Ron parked the car on the side of the road. I have another question. I need some equipment for this mission. Where can I get it? It's special equipment. Don't ask me about this kind of thing. Ask Orlov. I know you have a good relationship. Ron stuck out his tongue. Yes, boss. I don't have any questions. Let's go. After saying that, Frank quickly hung up the phone. Ron heard someone talking over there. It should be someone else coming. Ron estimated that it would be impossible for them to call again. He didn't go to the airport immediately, but went home to use his laptop to search for information about the mission target through the internal network. Now he no longer had any intention of going to Max's house to have fun. Carter Varren. Ron only took one look at the photo and immediately knew that this was the villain in Fast and Furious 2. For this person, he had no other extra memories except knowing that he was a drug dealer and money launderer. After all, the real good things in the Fast and Furious series are the later ones starting from the fourth one. The first three are really average, especially the third one, which can be described as garbage. Suppressing the complaints about the movie in his heart, Ron began to seriously think about countermeasures. If nothing unexpected happens, he will meet the rookie Detective O'Connor of the FBI again, but this time he will be in the form of an opponent. He must find evidence before O'Connor and take it away. This is no different from giving it away for free. Ron's originally nervous mood immediately relaxed. Ron called Orlov. Hey, brother, do you remember the LG 540mm sniper grenade launcher I ordered from you? No, I don't mean to regret it, but I want to change the delivery address. I need you to send it to Miami. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Monica. It takes more than 4 hours to fly from Los Angeles to Miami. Ron slept comfortably on the plane and opened his eyes just in time to arrive. However, the first person to pick him up was not the beautiful undercover agent who had been agreed upon. Instead, it was a fat man who looked like Nicolas Cage. The long-term comfortable family life made this famous arms dealer fat. It seems that marriage is not only the grave of love, but also the crematorium of a man's appearance. I just bought some goods from you. Why did you deliver it yourself? Did all your men run away? Ron hugged Yuri and teased. Of course not, it's just that I'm planning to keep a low profile recently. I seem to be targeted by a very troublesome Interpol, Yuri said while observing Ron's expression. I cannot charge for the equipment this time. Can you get me an amnesty from that big shot? Ron punched Yuri heavily on the chest. I was wondering why you were so attentive this time. It turns out you were waiting for me here? So can I understand your behavior as a political donation? But the amount is too small, right? You know that person has always had a big appetite. Yuri was beaten by Ron and took a deep breath before he recovered. Of course I know. So I have prepared not only this, but also an amount similar to the taxes you have collected from me over the years. I just don't know where to send it. I can give you a phone number. It's a water purification company. Tell them my name and let them transfer you to the president. Just tell him your purpose and he will understand." Ron sent him a phone number on his mobile phone, and just as the two of them were smiling at each other over the shady deal they had just conducted, an extremely stylish Porsche stopped beside them, the door opened, and a wild-looking woman got out. "Are you Ron? Why did you come just now?" the woman complained and stretched out her hand to Ron while looking at Yuri vigilantly. "If I remember correctly, you should have come alone. Let me introduce myself." Ron nudged Yuri with his elbow, but found that the other party was staring at the new woman in a daze. "Well, forgive my friend for looking like he has never seen the world. It's because you are too beautiful, just like Medusa in Greek mythology." "Hi," Ron shouted in Yuri's ear, and the other party finally came back to his senses. Ron turned to the woman. "Fortunately, your petrification magic didn't work today. My name is Ron Lee Cooper, Monica." The woman touched Ron's hand lightly. "Sweet talk doesn't work on me." Having said that, Ron could still see the spring in Monica's eyes, and his words were still useful. "He is one of us, absolutely trustworthy." "Where are we going now?" "Your car follows behind mine. I'll take you to where we're staying first, and then we'll discuss how to get you close to Carter." After Monica finished speaking, she turned around and got into her car. Ron took great pains to resist the temptation of Monica's talking eyes and got into Yuri's car. "Hey, man, what happened to you just now? It's really unlike you. Haven't you always been known as a good family man? Are you planning to cheat now?" Yuri started the car and murmured, "Believe it or not, when I saw her just now, I suddenly felt like I had known her for a long time, as if I had a long dream." "You're not going to tell me that you dreamed that you could turn into a burning skull, wearing a leather jacket and riding a Harley-Davidson to fall in love with Monica?" Ron rolled his eyes. Yuri's expression suddenly became extremely terrified. "How do you know? Do you believe me when I say I can steal dreams? You are already old, so you should read less comics," Ron said helplessly. "Where's my equipment?" "In the trunk. In addition to the things you want, I have prepared some other things. I believe you will like them. It and this car are my gifts to you. I will find a place to get off in a while. I am not interested in participating in your mission." Yuri calmed down. "The chassis, doors and glass of this car are all specially customized bulletproof materials. It can withstand the shooting of ordinary pistol bullets. The tires are also special puncture-proof models. Don't thank me, you can think of it as a businessman's advance investment in you. This is a black gun that has not been registered anywhere. You can use it at will." Yuri took advantage of the traffic light intersection to stuff his pistol into Ron's arms and got out of the car. Ron moved to the driving position and continued to follow Monica's car. The other party drove all the way to an abandoned factory before stopping. Ron did not get out of the car rashly, but deliberately drove forward and circled the car. After making sure there was no ambush, he stopped beside Monica's car and got out. "You don't seem to believe me." Monica had a smile on her face, but Ron, who had seen countless women, knew that she was angry, but he did not mean to make amends. "Of course, as an undercover agent, even if the boss said you were one of us, I would still doubt your true colors. Sorry, it's completely out of professional habit. I hope you don't misunderstand." He said sorry, but there was no apology on Ron's face. Instead, he hugged Monica like a playboy, which looked like a sexual harassment. But Monica stood there with a smile on her face without dodging, and just let Ron take action. His hands were not honestly touching her body and playing tricks everywhere, but the admiration in his eyes became stronger and stronger. "How is it? Have you found any weapons or bugs?" Monica breathed softly into Ron's ear in an extremely charming way, and said seductively, "Or should we go to a more private place so that you can check it carefully? If you don't mind, I would certainly like to have a deeper exchange with a beauty like you. I heard that there is an intelligence agency in the UK that mainly engages in tailoring. There is a special locator that can be put into a woman's body. Do you understand what I mean?" Ron did not retreat, but moved closer to Monica's body, kissed her on the face, and whispered, "There is someone at 3 o'clock, maybe a passerby fishing. There is a wild lake nearby." Monica responded to Ron's kiss and whispered like a lover in love. From an outsider's perspective, the two people's actions were like a pair of inseparable lovers. The tramp-like man who followed them gave a strange laugh, whistled and walked over, but just looked at her twice more, and did not stop. Ron noticed that although he didn't have a fishing rod, He was holding a large bucket and a ball of twine in his hand. It seemed that he was just a passerby who came to fish, just like Monica said. It was not surprising that most homeless people who couldn't even afford a fishing rod would tie an iron hook to the rope. Chapter 63 Ron's Plan. The crisis was resolved, but Ron did not let Monica go immediately. She couldn't see anything from that angle anyway, so Ron was in a playful mood. He whispered in Monica's ear, "Cooperate with me," and then kissed her deeply. 5 minutes later, Monica gently pushed Ron away. "How is it? Is that enough? How about we talk about business first?" As she spoke, Monica pointed to the rearview mirror of the car. From her angle, she could just see the situation behind her, so she was cooperating with him from the beginning? Ron was secretly happy, but he had had enough fun. Business came first. After completing the task first, he had plenty of time. "I just came and don't know the situation well enough. Do you have any plans? You came a little late." Varen was looking for a driver before. "I just arranged for 2 FBI agents to go in." Monica tidied up her clothes that were messed up by Ron. "They have been selected by Varen. If I'm not mistaken, it should be Detective O'Connor and a black boy who is good at talking." Ron appreciated Monica's shocked expression with satisfaction. "Even if the time is right, I don't plan to drive for Varen. That's not my style. Besides," Ron pointed upwards, "the boss is in a hurry. I want to get things done quickly. It would be best if I could end it all within 2 days. "Impossible." Monica looked at Ron as if he were a madman. "Do you know how careful he is? It's impossible for an outsider like you to get close to him." "Who said I want to get close to him?" Ron walked to the car that Yuri left for him, opened the trunk, looked at the equipment inside, and nodded with satisfaction. It seemed that Yuri still understood him. "Then what are you going to do?" Ron said solemnly. "First, I need you to help me determine where the evidence in Varen's hands is. I can tell you right now. It's in the wall of a small house in the seaside slums, together with his money. There are about 10 men guarding it. The most important thing is that the FBI is also suspicious of that place. Before they are more certain, they dare not alert the enemy. If you don't come to disrupt the situation, Varen will have them all taken out and run away in a week at most." When she said the word money, Monica's eyes lit up. Ron carefully recalled the plot and found something wrong. Logically, Monica should not even know about this place. It was not until Varen escaped at the end that he asked 2 trusted men to take the unlucky duo to get the money. If Monica knew it from the beginning, why didn't she tell them? Monica suddenly came up, put her arms around Ron's neck and winked at him mischievously. "Are you curious about why I didn't tell that idiot from the FBI? Think about it. What good will it do for me to tell them? Don't forget, we are the same people." Ron immediately understood from Monica's expression that this woman also wanted to get a piece of the pie. No wonder she didn't say anything over there. Well, she is indeed a woman who can deal with the gang leader obediently, but Ron doesn't mind giving away a portion of the money that he originally planned to keep for himself. It was originally a windfall. "Okay, I think we need a plan." After discussing the plan with Ron, Monica returned to Varen. He couldn't leave for too long to arouse unnecessary suspicion, and Ron also got Varen's complete schedule from him, which made it easier for him to further formulate a plan. Directly raid Varen's secret base? This is the simplest way, but also the most stupid. Ron, one of the 10 gangsters, believed that he could handle the case by himself, but his main task was not the money, but the evidence. If he attracted the attention of the FBI during the operation, it would not only be difficult to take away the evidence under their noses, but Ron himself would also be exposed. This was something Ron absolutely could not tolerate. What he had to do was to take away the money and evidence quietly without leaving any trace of his presence. So now it seems that the factor that has the greatest impact on Ron's task is not Varen's men, but the FBI, so Ron came up with a brilliant plan. At night, Varen held a party at Oasis, one of the most prestigious nightclubs in Miami, to entertain his men, and the FBI agents who were always paying attention to Varen's every move had already sneaked in here in various ways. And here, in addition to the FBI and Varen's gang, there is also a third party that swings back and forth between the two gangs, that is, the local police station that Varen has infiltrated and received with money, and they are also among the invited. Ron was watching everything from the top of the building opposite the nightclub. He finally smiled when he saw the dull-headed Detective O'Connor and his dull black friend talking to the security guard at the door. All the actors are in place. Now it's time to start the show. After saying that, Ron pulled down his mask and slid down from the top of the building. At this time, he was wearing an FBI SWAT uniform. Inside the house, Varen cruelly put a big rat into a metal bucket and put it upside down on the belly of a fat man whose limbs were fixed on the table by his men. This was a local policeman who was bought by Varen before. Now he was arranged by the FBI to monitor Varen's property. When Varen wanted him to withdraw the man, he was refused. He wanted to punish this villain who took money but did not do anything in front of the two rookies. "I'm a policeman. Varen, you can't do this to me. If anything happens to me, all the police outside will come to catch you." The squeaking sound of the rat and the sound of its claws rubbing against the wall of the bucket came from the iron bucket, which made people's scalps numb. Weilong was unmoved and took a flamethrower to roast the iron barrel. "Listen, the rat inside will want to dig a new passage to escape outside because of the heat inside the iron barrel. Guess where it will come out?" The police chief widened his eyes in horror, but because his mouth was covered, he could only struggle in vain. "It's biting me." The police finally shouted this sentence during the interval, but his voice was drowned by the music outside and did not cause any movement. Weilong signaled with his eyes, and his mouth was covered again. The musket roasted the iron barrel red, and the squeaking sound inside disappeared, but this was not good news, because the owner of the scream began to work on digging holes. "Speak, let your men withdraw, speak," Weilong continued to interrogate. At this time, Ron had already climbed into the nightclub through the ventilation duct. The men brought by the police chief were flirting with the beauties arranged by Weilong, while sitting at the gambling table and gambling cards, very carefree, not knowing that their boss was being tortured inside. Ron looked at the corrupt policeman in plain clothes below, a smug smile appeared on his face. And he shouted, "The boss has been taken away by Weilong's men. Brothers, pick up your weapons and go save the boss." Chapter 64, Nightclub Melee. The men who were flirting with the beauty in their arms were stunned. They looked at each other and found that their chief was missing. He was sitting next to them with a beautiful woman in a red dress. They looked up and began to look for the chief. Immediately, their attention was attracted by the VIP room guarded by Varen's men. Without Ron's guidance, they gathered there and immediately clashed with Varen's men. However, fearing the identity of the other police, Varen's men were very restrained and did not use violent means. They just pushed each other. Ron, who was hiding in the exhaust duct, shook his head. How could this work? As expected, the soldiers were incompetent, and the generals were incompetent. The men led by the rubbish chief were all rubbish. Why are you wasting your words? Just do it. A bunch of weaklings. Fortunately, I was prepared. Ron looked down at the rookies of the Miami Police Department with disdain and decided to add fuel to the fire. Ron took out a small iron box with the Chinese characters Shui Pao written on it. He bought it when he passed by Chinatown earlier. Ron aimed at the feet of a fat policeman and threw it down. Bang! The Shui Pao exploded, and it sounded like a gunshot in the narrow corridor of the private room. The fat policeman was startled and thought someone was shooting at him. He immediately fell to the ground. Ron pinched his throat and shouted, "Weilong's men are shooting. Take out your weapons, brothers, kill them." After shouting, Ron immediately shot at one of Weilong's stunned men. Bang! This time it was a real gunshot, and the bullet hit him right in the middle of his eyebrows. The two sides finally lost their composure and each took out their weapons. Bang bang, they started shooting at each other in the narrow corridor. Several people fell to the ground in an instant, but some of them were smart enough to grab their companions' bodies as cover, and the sound of crossfire was heard. Outside the house, in a command vehicle disguised as an ice cream truck, the black commander listened to the gunshots coming from the headphones with a gloomy face. He slammed the table and said, "What the hell is that bastard Whitworth, local police chief, doing? Who made him fight with Varen's men?" However, none of the subordinates in the command vehicle dared to speak out in agreement, and the atmosphere was very tense. Finally, an FBI agent bravely asked, "Boss, what should we do now? Do you want our people to go in now and arrest Varen?" In order to prevent Varen from leaving suddenly, the FBI has always arranged a mobile force nearby to be on standby at any time. The agent's suggestion is to let this mobile force move. The black commander looked at the scene on the monitor in silence for a long time, and finally stopped his subordinate's suggestion. "Wait a minute, let your people surround the nightclub and wait for the opportunity to move. Don't make a move until the last moment." Before the commander finished speaking, he suddenly saw a figure of an FBI SWAT team on the monitor, flexibly moving through the hail of bullets, helping the police to fight back against Varen's men. After killing the subordinate who poked his head out from behind the wall with a single shot, Ron fired wildly at the intersection as if bullets were free. He quickly replaced the spare magazine after emptying a magazine. The almost seamless switching made Ron like a machine gun bunker. With only a pistol, he became a fixed firepower point, pouring firepower at the intersection continuously, suppressing Wheelong's men so that they could not raise their heads at all. Under the leadership of the FBI SWAT, the strength of the police side increased greatly. They immediately took advantage of the gap created by Ron to advance into the Wheelong gang, and broke through Wheelong's defense in a blink of an eye. The black commander's eyes widened, and he pointed at the figure on the monitor with a trembling finger, not knowing whether he was happy or angry. "Didn't I tell the SWAT team to stand by? Whose subordinate is this?" The agent in charge of the SWAT team quickly contacted the SWAT team, but the news received was that no one there took the initiative to attack, and everyone obeyed the order and was on standby. The agents in the command vehicle stared at the active figure on the monitor in shock. What the hell? If none of the SWAT team members moved, who is the person on the monitor? I don't know either. All our people are outside. What should we do now? What else can we do? The black commander stood up angrily. The person has been exposed. Now let everyone press on immediately. We must not let Varen get away. Yes, a team of fully armed FBI deployed their formation and began to break through the nightclub. On the other side, Ron, who was leading the police to fight back, heard the FBI SWAT team's dispatch order through the headset that hacked into the FBI command system. He immediately found an opportunity to hide his figure in the blind spot of the monitor again, and crawled into the ventilation duct with a flexibility that was not commensurate with his huge body. Just as he came, like a ghost, he did not make any sound. At this time, the well-trained FBI SWAT officers had already broken into the nightclub hall and fought with Varen's men who stayed downstairs. However, Varen has been rampant in Miami for many years. Although the fighting power of his subordinates is not very good, they have more people. They keep pouring out from all corners of the nightclub, making the FBI's attack extremely difficult. Officer whose face became darker and darker. Unlike his subordinates, he knew that this was not a simple bandit suppression operation, but also involved the struggle between the bigwigs in the upper echelons. He was so nervous that his palms and forehead were full of sweat. If the things in Varen's hand fell into the hands of others, he would be finished. Sir, our people seem to be a little overwhelmed, or should we withdraw some of the people from other places? The gunfight in the nightclub continued to be tense. The commander finally made up his mind and waved his hand. Go and withdraw all the people outside and do our best to hunt Varen. Ron, who had been monitoring the FBI command channel, finally showed a smile on his face. Now his chance has finally come. He had already escaped from the nightclub just now, and took off the FBI SWAT team's clothes on the roof, leaving only a headset hanging on his ear. Thank you, Peggy. If it weren't for you, I really don't know what I would have done this time, Ron said gently into the headset. The FBI's communication system is so tight. I've tried many times but couldn't hack into it. That only shows that your methods are really too poor. An extremely pleasant female voice came from the headset. To be honest, I'm not surprised. In terms of IQ alone, even that idiot Sheldon is much better than you. Ron pouted and acted like a rogue. Who wants to compete with you two perverts in IQ? If you have the guts, come and compete with me in long-distance running, swimming or any other sports. The two of you combined are no match for me. Poor barbarian, you can only regain some confidence in sports. Speaking of sports, why don't you go and compete with the gorillas in the zoo in tree climbing? Do you know what the biggest difference between humans and animals is? Peggy sneered mercilessly. It's wisdom, my dear little idiot. Stop, stop, stop. Ron quickly stopped Peggy's sarcasm. I'm still at work. Can you tell me if the FBI in the slums has begun to withdraw? Let me take a look. Peggy paused for a moment. They have already taken action. If you leave now, you will probably meet them on Highway 1. See? Ron asked in confusion. Yes, I just borrowed a military satellite to take a look. Their people just got on the car. Do you have any questions? Peggy said as a matter of course. No, nothing. For this top hacker who can use a military satellite as soon as he wants, what else can Ron say except Big Boss is awesome in his heart? After all, he is in the same camp as him. Chapter 65 Slums. Anything else? If not, I'll log off. Going to bed too late is bad for your skin, Peggy yawned. Wait a minute, it'll be over in an hour. Ron chatted with Peggy while driving. I said, do you want to find a school to do some research? Just like my brother, Staying at home playing games every day is a waste of your IQ. If you are smart, you must contribute to all mankind. Where did you get the misunderstanding? Peggy's tone became sarcastic again. Or do you think Sheldon studies physics to make human civilization go further? No. He just studies for his own curiosity, and of course, for honor. Well, my mother thought you and Sheldon could be a couple. Ron shrugged helplessly, decisively choosing not to argue with a female genius whose IQ could completely crush him. Dating Sheldon? Are you sure Ms. Mary is not kidding? Peggy exclaimed. She still had respect for Ron's mother, who had accompanied her through the special period of her parents' divorce, and finally did not continue to be sarcastic. I'm pretty sure she didn't sound like she was joking, Ron said. A convoy of cars was coming from the opposite direction. Ron's sharp eyes caught the FBI mark on the shoulder of the driver of the other car, and the corner of his mouth curved up. As Peggy said, the other party met him on Highway 1. Honestly, are your family really sure you know your brother's hobbies? How is that possible? Sometimes I doubt that he is not interested in women. I don't want to talk to him about this topic at all, for fear that he will give me a lesson in physiology and hygiene like he did when he saw you and me kissing in college. Oh my god, that was my first kiss, and Sheldon ruined it before I had time to savor the atmosphere. While Ron was complaining to Peggy about his awful brother, he stepped on the accelerator again. The outline of the slums in front of him was faintly visible under the street lights. He felt that Varen's dirty money was waving at him like a naked XX. That was also my first kiss, Peggy muttered softly. Ron didn't hear clearly. What did you say? I said. Maybe you should care about your brother's mental health. Peggy immediately changed the subject. I accidentally hacked into Sheldon's phone once. Guess what I saw? Isn't it various physics research materials? What else could it be? Ron said that he was not interested in Sheldon's phone at all. Videos of old ladies fighting old ladies. Cough cough. Ron almost choked himself to death with saliva, and he stopped a car on the side of the road. Why would he be interested in that kind of thing? You ask me, who should I ask? Peggy's voice was a little blurred. No more talking. I have seen you arrive from the satellite. Go to bed. Don't forget the date you promised to meet me. Good night. It's only 10 o'clock. So early. Ron glanced at his watch, but there was no response in the headset. What a weird guy. Are all geniuses so weird at ordinary times? At this time, in an ordinary house in New York, a pretty girl who was holding a pillow between her legs put down her headphones, kicked her legs hard, and then exhaled a breath of air and fell soft on the bed. What was playing on her laptop was the image of Ron opening the trunk of a car with his butt raised, which was just captured by a military satellite. Peggy looked at the image and muttered something. Ron, you will be mine sooner or later. Peggy took the pillow up and prepared to go to sleep, but happened to see a large puddle of water on the pillow. She threw the pillow against the wall in shame. On the other side, Ron found a house in the slums and climbed to the roof. There were many scattered sounds in the middle because of too many sundries, but it did not alarm the owner who came here. Or rather, he pretended not to notice it. Anyone who saw a man carrying a large gun that was almost as long as a person climbing on the roof of his house would be very smart to play dumb. This is the survival philosophy of the slums in the United States. Let me see. Ron opened the satellite map that Peggy had just sent, combined with Monica's information, and quickly analyzed the 3 houses where Varen's men were located, which were in a triangular shape on the open ground in front. It was almost not adjacent to other houses, which saved Ron a lot of trouble. At least he didn't have to worry about harming innocent people. Let me try this big guy to see if it's fun or not. Ron adjusted the angle through the electronic sight on the LG5, pointed the muzzle of the grenade launcher at the house on the right, and gently pulled the trigger. Bang, a crisp sound. Almost no recoil was reflected on the gun body. Even Ron, who is an old gun player, had to sigh that the feel was really great. At this time, the grenade had already shot out of the gun barrel, breaking the glass of the house and immediately causing a violent explosion. Boom! Most of the walls of the slum hut were blown off, revealing 2 bodies covered in blood. FXXK. There's an attack. Get up. The only survivor in the house ran out naked with an AK rifle, howling at the other 2 houses, looking around the dark streets in panic, trying to find out who the ghost attacking them was. But Ron didn't intend to give him this opportunity, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Goodbye, scum. His finger pulled the trigger again, and a 40mm grenade hit the bandit's body directly. The moment it encountered the obstacle, it immediately triggered the fuse. Boom! A huge blood flower exploded on the spot, and the broken limbs and flesh were splattered everywhere. directly soaking the sleepy bandit who had just come out of the next house. Is it raining? The bandit who just came out was still a little slow to react, and he touched the sticky night fluid on his face, but when he saw what he had in his hand clearly under the street light, Ron's third grenade arrived as expected. Boom, he followed his companions again. Isn't this thing too violent? Ron looked at his results in surprise, and kept rubbing the gun body with his hands like a fetishist. But I like it. Ron fired 3 shots in quick succession, and the huge explosion directly raised the third house to the ground. At this time, the bandit in the middle house finally reacted and shot at the empty street with various weapons in fear. But now Ron didn't plan to continue using the grenade launcher to attack them, a group of noobs. According to Monica's information, the money and evidence were inside the wall of the house, and continuing the bombardment might damage the things inside, so he could only reluctantly throw the launcher aside temporarily, pull out his pistol and jump off the roof. Chapter 66 ending. The guy is upstairs, he's coming down, kill him. The bandits in Varan spotted the figure on the roof, and just as they turned the wheel to aim at this side, they were shot into received by Ron with a string of bullets before they could fire, and fell to the ground. However, they pointed out the direction for their companions behind them. The 2 bandits put their rifles on the window, and just as they were about to give Ron a taste of their own medicine, Ron, almost as soon as he landed, relied on his experience, without even looking, and fired 2 long bursts at the door and the windowsill. Once again, the 2 in the room were suppressed and couldn't raise their heads, and they were beaten to doubt their lives. 4 people, 4 rifles, were suppressed by 1 person with a pistol. If you didn't experience it yourself, who would dare to believe it? Don't be fooled by various gun battle movies, thinking that there is no difference between pistols and rifles except for the size. The difference is huge, except for the different power of ammunition. The rate of fire and shooting accuracy are even more different. Take the AK-47 rifle, which is the favorite of gangsters, for example. The firing rate is 600 rounds per minute, while the average firing rate of a pistol is only more than 300 rounds per minute at the fastest. They are not even in the same order of magnitude. That's not even counting the difference in bullet power. But Ron was suppressed. In addition to his 2 skilled shooting skills, the unregistered strange black gun left by Yuri was also one of the important reasons. Beretta M93R, pronounced as pistol, written as submachine gun, is a monster with a 3-point shooting rate of 1,100 rounds per minute in full automatic mode. The magazine easily has 20 rounds, which makes Ron, who is used to using 5 or 6 round magazines, feel very excited. Is this the feeling of using an unlimited bullet plug-in? Don't blame Ron for being ignorant. Ron has been dealing with various revolvers under the education of Old Man Jack since the first day he touched a gun. He has always been mainly focusing on accurate shooting. And the firing rate of a pistol is just that fast. This is the first time he has used a pistol with such a fast firing rate. This firing rate is catching up with a submachine gun. However, it was fun, but the results were a bit disappointing. Except for the idiot who was shot into receive when Ron was about to stand an attack, all of Ron's bullets missed. Tisk, it seems that it is not so useful. After facing the results of the battle, Ron began to miss his revolver with a bonus of sharpshooter. Takata taking advantage of the gap when Ron's magazine was empty, the people in the room fired a series of bullets from the muzzle, but the accuracy was so bad Ron didn't even dodge, with a mocking smile on his face and opened his hands to the house. Bullets made a sound of breaking through the air by Ron's ears, but none of them hit his body. Ron raised a middle finger to the house. Rubbish, just think about it, how high can the fighting power of the gangsters who follow Wei Long, who is not a fighting boss, be? At most, they look a little intimidating. They are not even as good as the Korean gangsters who were beaten by Ron. At least they really did it with a knife and a gun. Ron pulled a gas bomb and threw it into the window. SHHH the smokehouse immediately filled the entire room. And the bandits obviously couldn't have prepared equipment such as gas masks in advance. Ahem. We surrender. Don't shoot. The bandits immediately rushed out of the house with cloths, and Ron had already prepared to change the magazine. Not to mention that Ron was carrying out a secret mission. Even in normal times he didn't have the habit of leaving people alive. Ron raised his pistol in the terrified eyes of the bandits. Sorry, I don't accept surrender. Goodbye, gentlemen. Bang, bang, bang. 3 gunshots rang out, and 3 unconscious bodies fell to the ground. Finally done. Tonight's night is really long. Ron counted the results of the battle. In the last room, he killed 4 people, and in the rooms on the left and right, he killed 3 people each with grenades, which added up to exactly 10, which matched the data in the intelligence. And until the battle was over, the houses around the slum seemed to be dead asleep, without any sound. "What a bunch of downtrodden egoists," Ron muttered, but he didn't feel dissatisfied. Instead, he was very happy. The following is the blind box unboxing session. Let's witness this miraculous moment together. Ron drove the car to the door of the house like a drama actor taking a curtain call, and then gracefully performed a gentleman's salute and turned to go into the house. When he turned around, there was a smile on the corner of his mouth. Unlike the silence just now, Ron clearly heard the restless sounds coming from the surrounding houses. "I'm not afraid of you robbing, I'm afraid you won't move. You are all so obedient. Who should I blame for this?" After a while, Ron came out with 2 large bags of money. "Why do you think everyone knows that there's money in the bag?" Of course, it's because the zipper of the bag is not zipped, and the green dollars are flashing under the street lights that Ron hit with grenades. Just like a naked supermodel hiding in front of a pervert who had just been released after being locked up for 10 years, Ron felt that the eyes exposed in the windowsills of the houses in the slums were all glowing green. If it weren't for the fact that he had just single-handedly overthrown the entire Velen gang, someone would have come out to rob them long ago. "A bunch of crooked people," Ron sneered in his heart, and threw the money on the car without even closing the door. He turned around and went into the house again, and came out with 2 big bags of money. This cycle repeated 3 times, and everyone watched Ron take out 6 large bags of banknotes from the house, and all of them were $100 bills. The green paper was so crazy that it made the eyes in every window evolve from green to red, as if they were going to devour someone in the next moment, and all they needed was the last line of rationality to break. Ron decided to add fuel to the fire. In front of everyone, he took a bag full of money out of the car, threw it back into the house, and then threw another bag into the sky. Green dollars turned into a rain of banknotes and fell from the sky. The slums had never seen such a scene before, and they all cried out "oh" at the same time. But no one dared to come out of the house. "To be honest, I feel pity for your cowardly appearance. Now the money is here. If you want to get rich, just go and get it," Ron shouted at the slums, got into the car and drove away with his 4 big bags of money. After his car left, the slums immediately heard a thunderous sound of footsteps. Everyone came out of the house and rushed to the last house like crazy, intending to grab the tempting little cuties before everyone else. Immediately, the race turned into boxing, and then boxing turned into indiscriminate fighting. Finally, I don't know who fired the first shot, and the small slum turned into a bloody battlefield. Ron's car stopped after driving a short distance. Looking at the tragic battle in the distance, I don't know why, he suddenly remembered the words of an Oriental philosopher. When a brave man is angry, he draws his sword against the stronger. When a coward is angry, he draws his sword against the weaker. Chapter 67 Remote Control Applications. Ron drove back home. Yes, he had returned to Los Angeles and was lying comfortably on his sofa. Penny should be at work. Ron was drinking beer and watching TV, and the news about his deeds yesterday was broadcast on TV. The terrorist attack that occurred in the slums of Miami last night was indeed related to former FBI agent Brian O'Connor and his friend Roman. During the FBI's raid on Varen, the two were caught on the spot by the FBI when they were responsible for transferring money. On TV, it was Agent O'Connor's anxious face who confessed and resisted. Sure enough, after he left, O'Connor and his friends were sent to get the money as in the original plot. But the money had long been taken by Ron, leaving only the poor people fighting for the remaining 2 bags of money. After losing Ron's high-end military suppression, the battle scene was once very bloody. When O'Connor and his men arrived, the war was at its most intense. Even though they knew they were from Varen, the poor people in the slums had already gone crazy and dared to fight back even against the gangs. The final result was that when the FBI surrounded the place, O'Connor's side was still happily having a gunfight with the poor people. Needless to say, O'Connor is a retired agent. Even if he was still in office, the timing was so coincidental, and he shot a civilian with a gun in front of the FBI. If not you, who would take the blame? Dozens of civilians in the slums died, and more were injured. There was also a gangster who claimed to be an FBI undercover at the scene. The blame was about to be put on the FBI. How could the FBI recognize O'Connor? It has to be said that O'Connor really suffered a loss. As for the 4 bags of US dollars, totaling more than $3 million US, Ron deducted 50% of the unexpected income tax and divided the money into 3 equal parts, one for Monica, one for himself, and one for the honor of the eldest brother. Then, he asked Andy to use financial means to divert the 50% unexpected income tax into financial funds. It must be said that this move was very IRS-like. In addition to the tax he got from Uncle Fried Chicken, Ron's funds are surprisingly abundant now. He has taken back the material purchase list that he had sent to Yuri before, and sent it out again with several times more. Thinking of this, Ron comfortably drank a small sip of soda, switched to the Pay Movie channel with the remote control, and planned to see if there were any good movies, but frowned because of the symphony in the neighbor's house next door. Sheldon. What are you doing again? And you, Howard, are you pretending to be a gorilla? To be honest, you are the thinnest gorilla I have ever seen. Ron pushed open the door, and the 4 scientists jumped around the sofa in all kinds of weird movements. If you didn't know, you would think they were in a mental hospital. Hi, Ron. Howard was the first to welcome him. Is the sound a little loud? Not a little, it's deafening. I can hear it on the first floor. Penny came to the door at some point, and because the music was too loud, Ron didn't hear her footsteps at all. I didn't expect you to use idioms. Ron looked down on Penny as usual, then turned to look at the 4 scientists. So, the sound can be turned down a little. Right, no problem, turn it down right away. San Francisco, Lisbon, Halifax, see, it's done. Howard read out a long list of place names, and then looked at the 2 people at the door with pride together with the other 3 friends. Ron clearly saw from their eyes the same look Sheldon gave his parents when he was a child after doing something amazing. Praise me, thank you. Penny turned her head and wanted to leave. Unlike Ron, she just wanted to rest after working all day. Wait, Leonard hurriedly called his sweetheart. Don't you understand what we are doing? Didn't we use the computer to turn down the speakers? Penny asked with her head tilted. Sheldon explained seriously, of course not. We used the internet to go around the earth and sent a command to turn down the volume. If you want, you can buy the same remote control at Walmart. Ron pulled up a pillow and sat on the sofa. I say, is there anything to drink? Preferably non-alcoholic. I may have to drive out tonight. No, you still don't understand. Leonard shook his head and patted Howard. Howard, turn on the 2 public access function. Howard typed on the computer for a while, and then nothing happened. Penny still couldn't understand the brain circuits of these tech geeks, but it didn't prevent her from knowing that she wanted to rest. She said perfunctorily, not bad, guys, but I'm going to go back to rest. No, wait a minute. At this moment, the desk lamp connected to the controller next to him flashed, and Leonard quickly pointed at the desk lamp. Look, that's it. So, what do you want to express? Ron was confused by these guys. Sheldon, who was closest, looked at the computer and read, someone in Bashu, China, is turning our lights on and off remotely through his computer. It sounds good. Penny rubbed her hands awkwardly. So I have a question. Why do you do this? The 4 scientists looked at each other and said in unison, of course, because we can do it. You have mastered the essence of taking off your pants to fart. Ron concluded. So, who can help me get a drink? Thank you. Rajesh took out a can of Dr. Pepper from the refrigerator and handed it to Ron. Ron looked at it with disdain and finally decided to get up and get something to drink. This thing tastes like cough syrup. I don't know why so many foreigners like it. Wait, they seem to have found my toys again. Howard shouted excitedly as several toy cars waiting nearby suddenly started to move. Ron took a sip of Fanta and looked at the remote-controlled cars and fell into deep thought. He was a professional agent, and he thought about everything from a practical perspective. If this technology could hide his IP, would it become a new means of terrorist attacks? Or, a new way in urban anti-terrorism warfare? Just like the drones of the future, it is still several years away from the rough application of drones, but it does not prevent Ron from using this method in his tax collection work in advance. Think about it, who would take a children's toy car that can be seen everywhere seriously? But when it is filled with more than a pound of high explosives, it will definitely make those who despise it pay the price. Ron decided to talk to Howard later. Among this group of scientists, it seems that he has the best hands-on ability. Chapter 68 Leonard's speech. Maybe you should wear a pair of pants. Sheldon pointed to the video footage from the toy car on Howard's laptop, and could clearly see what Penny was wearing under her skirt. Penny screamed and ran away, covering her skirt. Leonard, as a licker, hesitated between licking Penny and continuing to appreciate the scenery under Penny's skirt. In the end, The latter prevailed and his footsteps did not move a step. This is life. Ron looked at the four scientists who were discussing how Howard would perform Jewish surgery on his robot body after becoming a robot, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This is life. Fighting and killing every day is meaningless. Even if he was sitting on the sofa watching Sheldon and Leonard quarreling over a letter inviting him to a speech, Ron didn't want to see Uncle Fried Chicken or the ugly face of Hank's brother-in-law, the chemist. No matter what the reason, drug trafficking is wrong. Ron, Howard and Drake came over again. When are you free to take us to the bar again? Why, you haven't gotten over the two girls you picked up at the bar last time? Ron looked at them with some surprise. The two tattooed girls who had an argument with Caroline last time were already rare and top-notch girls, based on his understanding of these two little perverts. Ron clearly saw them enter the hotel together, right? No way? Is there really someone who can't get a girl even if he brings her to the hotel? Howard's face was a little embarrassed. It was fine until I helped them take off their clothes and accidentally got their tattoo sleeves caught by the ring, which exposed them. Well, this is the most ridiculous reason Ron has ever heard, but it seems so natural to these two weirdos. Well, can I know which ring got your tattoo sleeves caught? Above, below. The two perverts answered at the same time, and then looked at each other. Lucky dog. Howard looked envious. I only took off my clothes to the top. Well, it's not impossible to take you to the bar again, but I need you to help me do something. Ron took advantage of the situation. He just didn't know how to trick Howard into helping him work, but he didn't expect that he would not only come to his door, but also give Rajesh a buy one get one free deal. Of course, Four Eyes stared at Ron excitedly. Even if you want us to help you rob a bank, it's fine. Ron waved his hand. Calm down, my friend, don't worry. If I plan to rob a bank one day, I will never ask you to help me. The two of you together can't even carry a bag of money. I just need you to help me make some high-tech toys. Among the people I know, you are probably the only ones who can do this. Of course, I will pay you for your work. Seeing that Shun quickly lowered his head in shame due to lack of physical strength, Ron hurriedly comforted him. To be honest, in the United States, a place full of idiots who are born in a happy education, it is easy to find a few muscular guys like himself. There are several of them among his classmates. But it is almost impossible to find a few decent scientific and technological talents. This is not to say that there are few scientific and technological talents in the United States. As the first superpower, the United States still has a huge siphoning effect on talents from all over the world, but most of them are in high-tech companies and campuses. It is not easy to fool people in such places. Ron is not arrogant enough to think that the not-so-rich funds in his hands can support the establishment of a scientific research project. Moreover, in his opinion, there is no need to go through so much trouble. Just let Rajesh be responsible for the design and Howard be responsible for the hands-on work. Just modify the existing remote control toys. Ron roughly told the two little perverts about his ideas and requirements, and Howard agreed almost without thinking. Is this really okay? Ron had good reason to suspect that Howard was fooling him with his lust. Of course, it's no problem. It's just a quadcopter. At most, it can be equipped with a remote control sensor and the storage space you mentioned. Howard confidently turned on the computer again and started designing. Rajesh also contributed a little wisdom from time to time to make his design more perfect. Even the quarrel between Sheldon and Leonard next to him could not affect them. These letters are from the Institute of Experimental Physics. They hope that we can give a paper presentation on the properties of supersolids at a conference on the theme of Bose-Einstein condensation. Leonard raised his voice, and his excitement almost overflowed from his body that was several inches shorter than that of an ordinary person. I know, I saw it before throwing it away. Sheldon opened the refrigerator to find water to drink. Leonard expressed his confusion. Allow me to explain the problem more clearly. Why did you throw it away? Because I am not interested in facing people who don't know me but like to criticize in the Rose Room of Marriott International Hotel. They will not realize that the person who gives a speech in front of them is a real genius. Ron shrugged helplessly. It was still a familiar taste and a familiar formula. Sheldon was still as narcissistic as ever. I don't know if you will feel sorry if you don't go. Howard joined the conversation without looking up while drawing the design. Their celebration party will be awesome. Yeah, Rajesh nodded in agreement. Their celebration party will be awesome. Boston lobsters are really free to eat. If you don't go, how about giving me the spot? It has to be said that Indians' love of small bargains is really deep-rooted. Even the top Indian wealthy families like Rajesh are no exception. I don't care about the celebration party. Leonard said angrily. Of course I know that you don't care about the celebration party, but the feeling of being noticed, right? Dr. Hofstadter, to be honest, I really suggest you see a psychiatrist in your situation, Ron pointed out Leonard's fragile little thoughts mercilessly. Ron, this is the most correct thing I think you have said in the more than 20 years I have known you. For the first time, Sheldon looked at his own brother with new eyes. Ron didn't move his butt and took off his hat on the sofa to express his gratitude. It's really not easy to get Sheldon's praise. I don't need a psychiatrist, Leonard denied. Sheldon, we have to attend this. No, I'm not going. Okay, it's up to you whether you go or not. I'm going to attend anyway. Leonard decided not to communicate with the unreasonable Sheldon anymore, and prepared to go back to the room to find clothes. Sheldon refused. No, you can't either, because I'm the first author. Don't be funny. The reason you are the first author is because it is sorted in alphabetical order. I made you think so that you don't have to face the shameful fact that this paper was my idea. I didn't mean to be so blunt, but the fact is that I feel sorry for you. After saying that, Sheldon didn't forget to add a question. You're welcome as the end. The two scientists who were helping Ron design the toy also looked up, and even they felt that the atmosphere had become obviously tense. P.S. The next update will be a little later. Don't wait, I'm at work tomorrow. I'm on a day off. I promise that everyone can see the new chapter tomorrow morning, and it will not be counted in tomorrow's 3 updates. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. Another party. What Sheldon said was very insulting, but what was even more frightening was that everyone present, including Leonard, didn't think there was anything wrong with what he said. Just out of self-esteem during the quarrel, Leonard still found some credit for himself. Wait, I designed the experiment to prove it. They don't even need to prove it. Leonard seized Sheldon's loophole and continued to attack. So, the entire scientific community will believe your words without any doubt. Not will, but should, Sheldon said decisively without any hesitation. Forget it, I don't care what you say, I just want to attend the meeting and show our results. Leonard was still determined. Ron, who was originally watching them quarreling, was already bored, and he had to endure Howard and Rajesh's consultation on dating tips. Enough. Dating a woman is really not as difficult as you think, provided that you don't do weird things like tattoo sleeves. Believe me, Howard, I have learned the divination of mysterious Oriental people. One day, you will find a female scientist who is as soft, beautiful, gentle and sweet as a gymnastics champion as your wife. Gentle? It seems a bit too much to lie like this. How can a woman who can seamlessly connect with Howard's mother be gentle? Ron decisively changed a word. Ron started the great prophecy. Howard's future wife, Bernadette. Ron happened to have the honor of watching another gymnastics movie starring her in his previous life, and he couldn't help but worry about Howard's small body. This body doesn't look like it can withstand Bernadette's misfortune. That classic question once again came to Ron's mind. How did he do it? Ron swore that he must observe carefully this time if he had the chance. Really? Howard showed an extremely fascinated look, and it seemed that he believed it. What about me? Rajesh put down the design drawings he was sketching on the paper and asked impatiently, what kind of opposite sex will I spend my life with in the future? Ron was a little overwhelmed. This question was a bit beyond the scope. Brother. The opposite sex with big eyes, petite body and abundant hair. I know, it must be a woman like Kareena Kapoor, the heroine of 3 Idiots. Rajesh shouted excitedly, jumped up and started to dance Indian dance. He didn't even notice the pen hitting Ron's head. Ron took out a pen stuck in his hair and put it back into the hands of the singing and dancing Indian, and asked him to calm down. Bastard, I'm talking about Zyogizzy, forget it. Just be happy. Ron now just wants to coax the two scientists to quickly complete the toy he wanted. But the good times didn't last long. Howard finally came over from his imaginary daydream, looked at the reality of all men around him, and felt that life was boring. Ron, the future is too long. Can you help us meet some girls now? We can even work for you for free. It would be even better if they are celebrities. That's right. It's best if they are big stars. In the movies, agents like you always date beautiful female stars. The Indian also came to join in the fun. You said it, that's in the movies, Ron said, and felt his phone vibrate. It was a text message. Ron looked down at his phone, then looked up at the two little scientists. These two guys, their mouths must have been blessed, and they really got it right. Hey, you two, are you serious about not paying? The two little heads nodded up and down in front of Ron. Ron glanced at Sheldon's room and lowered his voice. Do you want to go to a party with me to relax? Just consider it my advance payment to you. Howard heard Ron's deliberately lowered voice and realized that there was something wrong with this party. He glanced at Sheldon with a ghostly look, and there was no sign of him coming out. What party? I can't tell you what the party is about. Ron pointed to his ears, indicating that Sheldon's abnormal hearing could hear it, and he didn't want Sheldon to know. But I can tell you that the party will be held at a Marriott hotel near Hollywood, because Ron knew Sheldon well, even though he had no interest in socializing. If it was this party, he would definitely come to it. Then, the Cooper family would lose face, so Ron made up his mind and resolutely didn't bring Sheldon, and didn't even let him know. Hollywood. Howard and Drage looked at each other, saw joy in each other's eyes, and immediately nodded frantically. Ron raised his wrist and looked at his watch. Okay, you have an hour to change into your most handsome formal clothes and then meet at Hollywood Boulevard. No problem, my brother. An hour later, a car stopped not far from the entrance of the Marriott Hotel, and Ron and Howard, who was dressed in a gorgeous outfit, walked out of the car. The two scientists were like bumpkins from the countryside, and were immediately stunned by the grand scene at the entrance of the hotel. The entrance of the hotel had already been surrounded by security guards, and a large group of reporters outside were holding various cameras and aiming at the red carpet at the entrance. Every time a car stopped, it attracted a dazzling flash. And everyone who got off the car looked so familiar. They were clearly the stars who appeared on TV every day. Oh my God, I just saw Oyer. Ron, you must help me find her autograph later. Howard was so excited that he couldn't close his mouth. I can let my friend try. I don't know the girl well. Ron frowned. Now Avril has just become a global hit with Girlfriend. She is at the peak of her career. To be fair, Ron also likes her songs. But forget about the person. He doesn't like smoky makeup and short legs. Hey man, you are not really an agent like in the movies, are you? Rajesh once again raised his opinion. What kind? The kind who kills people at work and falls in love with all kinds of female stars at ordinary times. How could there be such an agent? Ron rolled his eyes. I just happened to meet a friend before. She held a party here today. I didn't even have an invitation. Rajesh's expression was extremely wonderful. He seemed to smell the smell of adultery. Ron, how many women do you have? Is she also a big star? Which one? Have I seen her movies? I believe that you have all seen her movies. This is why I didn't bring Sheldon here. I believe that the two gentlemen will not do anything that will make me lose face. Right. Ron confirmed again with the two guys who wrote scientists and read them as Atticus. After getting a positive answer, before he could tell them the answer, he saw a beautiful figure waving at him not far away. Look, she's here. I hope you can greet her politely. PS1, this chapter was published at 6:10 in the morning. Manual funny. PS2, 3 updates are guaranteed today. Serious face. PS3, who can guess who this female star is? How about the next chapter naming rights as a reward? Keywords, released in 2007. Atticus love to watch. PS4, the next chapter will be updated around 6 p.m. Please cherish your time to answer questions. Chapter 70 Little Fox. Of course, Howard and Rajesh turned back confident that they would not be too surprised no matter what kind of beauty they saw, but after seeing clearly behind them, they felt as if someone had grabbed their throats. They could only make a hissing breathing sound in their throats, and their whole bodies seemed to be cast under a spell of immobilization. Hey, little fox, I don't know when you went to Hogwarts to learn magic. If I remember correctly, this trick should be called total petrification, right? Ron looked at the two ridiculous guys in front of him who could not move at all, and said to the beauty behind them. Megan Fox, who Ron always nicknamed Little Fox, happened to see Megan with a car broken down on the side of the road when he was on a mission. He didn't recognize her at first. He just thought that the waistline of opening the hood to observe the engine condition was really amazing. But when Ron saw the face behind the hood, his reaction was not much better than that of the current wretched scientist duo. He even had the urge to call the Pentagon directly for support. Hey, Pentagon? The Cybertronians have invaded the United States. Do you care? The one who rushed towards her was not the male lead of Transformers, but an old man who had the same lustful look as Ron and claimed to be a great director. Ron only found out later that the lustful old man was the famous Michael Bay. The rest of the things went smoothly. Megan got the audition opportunity for Transformers and won the leading role, and Ron successfully dated Megan. As for the British slut Megan mentioned, that was another story. I'm not a British little slut who wanted to hide on you. Megan walked directly to Ron and hooked his arm in the envious eyes of everyone, and said unhappily, "Fortunately, she has returned to England now, otherwise I would have smashed her nose, British little slut." According to the conversation just now, there is only one candidate who meets the requirements, and that is Emma Watling, the actor of Hermione in Harry Potter. Ron, you still say you don't know martial arts. How can a normal agent date two Hollywood goddesses at the same time? Ron clearly saw that the gossip fire in Howard and Rajesh's eyes burned more vigorously. Little fox, you know I'm not interested in minors, and it's illegal. As a law enforcer in Los Angeles, I can't break the law knowingly, Ron said righteously. If Megan hadn't seen them kissing each other last time, she would have believed it. Megan sneered, but still didn't let go of Ron's arm. Instead, she hugged him tighter, making Ron's entire arm fall into indescribable pain. However, Ron did not forget the friends he brought with him. Little fox, is there any way to let my companions go in together? It would be best if you can help them get Avril's autograph. Don't get me wrong, they like it very much. You know me, of course it's no problem, but what can I get in return? Will you take me home to meet your family? Megan licked her lips. In the eyes of the otaku scientist, she might be extremely sexy, but in Ron's eyes, she was like a female bodhisattva who was ready to eat Tang Monk's flesh. Yes, that's right, a female bodhisattva. The ugly ones are female goblins. That's really unfortunate. My mother has already returned to Texas. She was still in Los Angeles when you were promoting the movie a few days ago. What a pity. Ron expressed regret. But he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Although Megan looks like a vixen, she can be regarded as a rare, relatively peaceful person among female stars. In the original Time and Space, she didn't have her first love until she was an adult. Because her family is strict and doesn't allow early love, what do you think? Is this reason very perfect? But in fact, in traditional religious families in the United States, this is the norm. As an adult, that's another story, but Megan is still a very worry-free woman compared to other peers. She has only had 2 relationships and divorced once. In this Time and Space, she didn't meet her original husband, but was inexplicably fascinated by Ron. Okay, follow me. Megan greeted the security guard naturally and took the 3 people in. After all, this was a celebration banquet specially held for the Transformers crew, and Megan was the protagonist here. Ron, you are so amazing. You can even pick up a woman like this. As soon as Megan left, Howard immediately admired her with a proud tone. If you didn't know, you would think he picked up a female star. It's nothing. Whether you believe it or not, we are really friends. Ron said that he almost believed it. What should we do to be like you? Why don't you do my thing first, and then I will help you think of a solution? Ron scratched his head. How to make famous female stars fall in love with otakus like Rajesh and Howard. This is a global problem. Ron has no better way. He can only coax them first and see if he can try to coax their destiny to come earlier. Last time, I heard Penny say that there were 2 new waiters in their store recently. I don't know if Bernadette is one of them. I can go and take a look for Howard some other day. Soon, Megan came back with the autographs Howard and the others wanted, and the price Ron paid was to spend the whole night drinking and chatting with all kinds of Hollywood bigwigs he didn't know as Megan's male companion, laughing so hard that his face almost froze. There were even 2 malicious producers who put their hands on Ron's buttocks and asked him in a gay way if he planned to be an actor with such a good appearance. Damn it. What a shitty actor. Don't you just want to let you guys take advantage of him? Ron opened his clothes a little disgustingly, revealing the IRS documents inside, and asked them in a kind tone whether they had paid all the taxes, which made the 2 malicious guys run away like they saw a ghost. Haha. Megan supported Ron. If it weren't for Ron's hand, he suspected that this little vixen would laugh so hard that she couldn't straighten her waist. Is it really that funny? If there's such an event next time, can you not invite me to join? The entertainment industry is too chaotic, Ron complained. Ha ha ha, I still find it funny when I think of Harvey's expression when he saw your ID just now. Ron, you are very charming. Even the famous Hollywood queen of production has fallen for your suit. Ron was puzzled. Queen? Wasn't that a man just now? Megan looked seductively. It is said that Harvey prefers to be at the bottom, you know. Ron shuddered. This circle is so messy. Okay, is he the producer who harassed you? I don't understand why you want me to be your male companion to help you get rid of him since he is gay. Who said he is gay? Megan took a sip of the champagne in her hand. He is BPS. There is another chapter in the evening. And I will update it 3 times as soon as I say. P.S. It's just a little late. Don't be angry, dear readers. Finally, I would like to state that I am not the big guy who wrote Suits. Really don't ask any more. Chapter 71 Drone Patents. Double Ron was stunned, and once again had a clear understanding of the chaos in the American entertainment industry. Anyway, it was the weekend, and Ron fell asleep after a hearty battle with Megan upstairs in the hotel. When he woke up, Megan had already left with the crew and went to the filming of Transformers 2. When Ron finally remembered the 2 scientist friends he brought with him, he called Howard but no one answered. Ron clearly remembered that he clearly saw Howard and Rajesh enter the elevator with an unknown actress. God knows what means they use. It can't be some special potion prepared by scientists, right? The more Ron thought about it, the more possible it seemed. No way? No way? 2 scientists were arrested and imprisoned for being obsessed with female stars on the first day they were hired by him? Ron was confused and quickly called Rajesh again. This time the call was finally connected. Ron. Rajesh's voice sounded a little lazy, as if he had just woken up. Rajesh, where are you two? Ron's tone became inexplicably stern because of his worry. Rajesh rubbed his sleepy eyes and looked around. We are still in the hotel. You don't know, the girl yesterday was so amazing. Howard and I were exhausted. Hearing Rajesh's excited description, Ron finally dispelled some of his worries. It sounded like they didn't choose force? That's fine, but another question came to Ron's mind. That is, how did they do it? You know, in Hollywood, the world of fame and fortune, it can be said that none of the women are easy to deal with. They all wish they could have eyes on their heads. How could they be interested in the stupid duo who have nothing? Of course, if Rajesh revealed his identity, it would be another matter, but now it seems that he obviously has no such plan. At present, even Howard, who has the best relationship with him, only regards him as a scientist from the third world. Are you guys done over there? Why didn't Howard answer the phone just now? Is he still busy? No, that girl just left. Howard is talking to Leonard on the phone. Okay, then can you come to my room after he finishes the call? I'm in 5014, no problem, he's done the call, we'll go over there now. Ron looked down and saw that he was still in his pajamas, so he didn't change his clothes. He went to the bathroom to wash up briefly before the 2 of them arrived. As soon as Ron opened the door, he was thrown into the arms of 2 excited guys. Thank you so much, Ron. Yesterday was the best day of my life. Was it better than the last time with Penny, that Omaha chick? Of course, Howard nodded excitedly. There's no comparison. You're an actor after all. Although Ron didn't understand what the actor profession had to do with this was not what he wanted to ask the most. Can I know how you got that chick? Ron remembered that the chick seemed to be from the Transformers crew, but she was a minor supporting role with no sense of presence. But even so, it was not a role that could be easily taken down. When the 2 Atticus were asked about their pride, they immediately became spirited and pushed it away. Finally, it was Howard who spoke up. You know, I'm Jewish, so, I claim to be a producer at Warner. It just so happens that I have an uncle who actually works for Warner. He's a lawyer. It's normal for a Jewish family to have a lawyer uncle. Then what? Then I told her that I just had a movie in preparation. The actors have not been decided yet, and there is no script yet, but there is already an Indian investor who is very interested in it. Ron was very confused and looked at the complacent Rajesh. So it goes without saying that the Indian investor must be you, right? Rajesh nodded. While Howard went to the bathroom to urinate, Ron whispered, you are not really going to invest in a movie of an unknown actress, are you? I know you have the ability. Rajesh showed a little surprise at first, but thinking about Ron's profession, he thought it was natural. Little did he know that Ron had never investigated him at all. It was completely a foresight advantage of the plot. Rajesh shook his head. He was not that stupid. Ron finally breathed a sigh of relief. If Rajesh's wealth was exposed, God knows how much trouble it would cause, and this trouble would definitely involve himself. Howard came back. Ron, can you believe it? When I was playing last night, I got inspired and designed the remote control aircraft you wanted. Do you have anything to add? Howard turned on the computer and handed it to Ron. Can doing that thing stimulate inspiration? Then why can't I do anything except fighting even though I have done it so many times? Ron was confused. This is probably the difference between scientists and ordinary people, right? It must be said that although Howard only has a master's degree, his level is really not covered. His design drawings are almost the same as the drones Ron will see in the future, and even the operating parameters are similar. He is worthy of being a man who can design toilets for astronauts. The only question is, how much does this thing cost? In terms of materials, it may cost about $600 per unit. Of course, if you plan to mass produce it, I can design a production line to make it cheaper. Howard said it generously, and he didn't think his new toy was so great that even Ron couldn't help but remind him. Howard, have you ever thought that this thing might make a lot of money in the future? Make money? How is that possible? I can't think of any use for it. Howard was just a technical genius who could only solve technical problems. He really didn't understand the application aspect and couldn't imagine how popular this thing would be in the future. I can think of a lot of military applications, such as reconnaissance, precision strikes, search, etc. Forget it. Anyway, you'd better register a patent for this thing. Believe me, you will thank you for your decision today and the future. Okay, let's do as you say, Howard said indifferently. Of course, don't forget my share. I came up with the idea for this thing first. Ron shamelessly plagiarized the creator's name. By the way, what did Leonard call just now about? He said he would give a speech in the Rose Hall of the Marriott Hotel at 10 a.m. and asked you if we would like to go. You should have received the text message. Ron looked at his phone and it was true. Rajesh looked at Ron. Wait, aren't we at the Marriott Hotel he mentioned? Are we going there later? Of course, why not? Ron thought of Leonard and Sheldon's farce, and a smile appeared on his face. A good friend's speech? Of course I have to support him. P.S. The third update is done. Don't say I don't keep my word. Thanks to the second brother, fresh tap water, and the mechanical stray cat for their rewards. I will list the thank you list for the monthly tickets tomorrow. Good night. Chapter 72. Guess what update is coming today? If you guess right, I will update 3 times. Manually funny. Chapter 73. High Energy Physics Seminar. Leonard's speech was held in the Rose Hall rented by the Research Institute on the first floor. It was a small hall that could only accommodate about 50 people. It was nothing like the Golden Hall where the Transformers crew held a celebration party yesterday. Maybe most of the funds were used to hold a celebration banquet later? According to Rajesh, the food was still very good. In the apartment, Leonard was about to leave. Because of some of his remarks to Penny yesterday, the relationship between him and Sheldon became more strained. Leonard was a little embarrassed and deliberately walked to Sheldon. I'm going to the meeting now. I wish you a good speech on my lucky discovery theory. Sheldon was still angry. He was annoyed by Leonard's statement. Who is lucky? I was talking about wisdom. Sheldon, that's not what I meant. What do you mean? I don't know. I just said it when I was chatting with Penny. So, you want to please Penny? Sheldon's words were sharp and to the point, and Leonard stuttered all of a sudden. No, not at all, Leonard denied, but under Sheldon's gaze, he finally gave in. Okay, a little bit. Does that work? At this moment, the door of the apartment was opened. Penny, Leonard, can we leave now? Well, now there is no need for Leonard to answer. Sheldon has already got the answer. It works, and the effect is not bad, but if Ron is here, he will definitely tell him that Penny's main purpose must be to eat and drink for free. Leonard was a little anxious, and gestured to Penny to let her wait. Okay, Sheldon, I'll ask you again. This achievement is completed by us together. Let's go to give a speech together. Okay, I'll tell you one last time. You are pimping. I will not go to such a humiliating meeting. You have the guts to bite me. Sheldon still refused firmly, and put 2 fingers on his forehead with each hand, pretending to use the force. Leonard had no choice but to take Penny with him to leave under Sheldon's force curse, but he didn't see that as soon as they left the house, the lights in the apartment went dark, and a sneaky figure followed them into a taxi after they left. It was late, and Ron woke up hungry after sleeping comfortably in the hotel room for a whole day. Compared with physical hunger, Ron's mental fatigue was more severe. God knows what Megan was thinking, and she actually wanted to squeeze Ron dry before leaving. Who gave her the courage? Her end was naturally miserable, but Ron hardly slept all night. Now that his mental fatigue has been replenished, he just needs to go to a comedy show and have a good meal. Penny adjusted Leonard's suit collar for him. Not bad, You're right, this side does look better. Leonard gave Penny a licking smile. No, I'm not saying this side looks better, but it's less brown. Penny looked at his ties speechlessly. Who knew that these Oedipus ties were actually reversible? And both sides are so ugly, don't they have any sense of aesthetics? I just observed it, there are about 20 to 25 people in total, so few. Ron just walked over with a leisurely pace. Hi, Ron, X4. Hello, Ron greeted everyone. Isn't it a discussion meeting on high-energy physics? Did I pronounce the word correctly? Why are there so few people? So few people? Leonard's voice suddenly rose 8 degrees. For the field of high-energy physics, 25 people are equivalent to a rock festival. Okay, Ron rolled his eyes secretly. When is the meal? No. I mean, when does it start? Now. Leonard smiled excitedly, as if he was already standing on the stage to accept the cheers of the crowd. To be honest, I'm a little nervous now. Howard suggested. It's okay, tell a joke and you won't be nervous. Then Leonard told a joke about a spherical chicken, and everyone laughed except Ron and Penny. Then the three scientists gradually stopped laughing and looked at them blankly. Why don't you laugh? I've heard this joke before, X2. These scientists have such a weird sense of humor. Ron swore that this was the most tacit understanding between him and Penny. Come on, let's go in. Leonard regained his confidence and took the lead to open the door. I really should have driven the car over here. Penny quietly fell behind. If you leave early, I guarantee you will regret it. The celebration banquet of this hotel uses Australian lobsters, not ordinary lobsters, and the chefs of this restaurant are not bad, Ron reminded. As we all know, although they are all lobsters, the price of Australian lobsters can sometimes be more than 7 or 8 times more expensive than lobsters. Penny immediately recovered her spirits and became energetic. How do you know this? Because I had dinner here last night, but it was just another celebration banquet. Ron said so, but he had no intention of following Penny in. You're not going in. Penny held the door. No, I'll wait for someone else. Penny ignored him and went straight in. She sat in the first row with Howard and the others. Ron couldn't help but twitch his lips, but he didn't remind them. May God bless this poor student to sleep more soundly under the influence of knowledge. As for making Penny understand Ron, there is no hope. Ron has experienced Penny's math level. This poor student can't even calculate a multiplication and division of 2-digit numbers. Sheldon didn't let Ron wait too long. After about 5 minutes, the sharp-eyed Ron decisively found a figure that stood out from the crowd. Sheldon. Ron walked over and patted his shoulder, which scared Sheldon, but he immediately covered his mouth. Sheldon said in annoyance, Ron, how did you find me? Do you think a professional agent can't see how suspicious a person wearing a baseball cap and covering most of his face with a hoodie and sunglasses is in the crowd? Ron smiled and said, I always feel that you are underestimating me. Where's Leonard? Of course he has already gone in. Didn't you say you wouldn't come? Then let's go in quickly. I have to see if my research results will be ruined by him, Sheldon said guiltily. He didn't even dare to look Ron in the eye. If Ron didn't know that these two people were of normal sexual orientation, he would have wanted to call his mother right now and tell her that she would never be able to hold Sheldon's son. Okay, whatever you want. P.S. There will be 3 updates today, but it may be a bit late. Can I read it tomorrow? I just got home after dinner. Chapter 74 Childish Ghost. Data shows that when the temperature approaches absolute zero, the moment of inertia will change, and the solid will become a supersolid, becoming an unknown substance. Leonard spoke non-stop on the stage, glancing at his sweetheart from time to time. Unfortunately, Penny nodded her head and snored loudly, and even Ron could hear it in the last row. So Leonard had to raise his voice to cover Penny's snoring and make her less embarrassed. How is it? Is the speech okay? Ron whispered to Sheldon, who was sitting next to him. Sheldon pouted in dissatisfaction. It's really too bad. Then what are you going to do? Ron vaguely felt that the sex scene was about to come, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. Leonard finished his speech, thanked the audience, and asked on the stage without knowing whether to live or die. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. What the hell is that? Sheldon raised his hand like lightning, and Ron immediately took out his mobile phone with a smile on his face and turned on the recording mode. Leonard recognized Sheldon, and his small stature seemed a little embarrassed at the podium. Do you have any other questions? I'm Dr. Sheldon Cooper, the first author of this paper. Sheldon took off his disguise and looked around, but everyone was only surprised and did not give the applause he expected. He said dissatisfiedly, Thank you, Sheldon pointed his finger at Leonard and rushed to the podium. "Sir, you completely skipped the most important part. I was walking in the park and saw children playing on a carousel. That made me think about inertia. I didn't skip it. I said, this is just a small episode, not science." Leonard suddenly plucked up the courage to interrupt Sheldon's statement, which was rare. It should be because Penny woke up and he wanted to be decent in front of his sweetheart. Ron clearly saw Penny's head move and the snoring stopped. Unfortunately, he didn't know that an even more embarrassing scene was about to take place. "Oh, so that's how it is." Sheldon's tone was extremely harsh, and he continued to be aggressive. "So the apple falling on Newton's head was just a small episode. You are not Newton." Yes, of course I am not Newton. For me, even if the apple didn't fall, I would know that it was the gravity of the earth." Sheldon put his hands in his pockets. If Ron was Leonard, he might have been unable to resist hitting him in the face with his leather shoe soles. But Leonard has a better temper. "You can't be so arrogant. You still underestimate me, man." Ron pouted and muttered in a low voice, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Let that arrogant bastard learn a lesson." Although Sheldon is Ron's younger brother, it does not mean that Ron approves of Sheldon's behavior. Although he is indeed intelligent, this is not a reason to become an egomaniac. Ron has every reason to believe that if he had not been raised by Mary, who is full of love in her heart, Sheldon would definitely be like the villain scientists in the comics he collected. Because he was discriminated against during school, he had the idea of revenge on society, and then used evil technology to do evil everywhere. At that time, Ron had to hold back his tears and use his 12.7mm caliber M500 revolver pistol to blow his head off. Of course, don't get me wrong, those tears came from laughing. Listen, if you are not happy to listen to my speech, then you should come with me. The good guy Leonard finally got angry. As I have explained to you repeatedly, I am not like you. I don't need people who are stupider than me to recognize me. After Sheldon finished speaking, he did not forget to turn around and explain to everyone, "I don't mean anything else." "No other meaning? Then it was intentional?" Ron had no doubt that if Sheldon stayed here and spoke nonsense, he would be torn to pieces by the other 25 scientists. Thinking of this, Ron couldn't help but worry whether he could still eat the dinner tonight. "I've had enough of your arrogant attitude," Leonard exploded. "Maybe I didn't get into college at the age of 11 like you. Maybe I got my doctorate at the age of 24, not 16 like you. But you're not the only one in this room who's smarter than them." Leonard pointed to the audience. "Nothing else. Scientists in the audience, you got the cue. I'm obviously not the only one here who feels insecure and longs for affirmation from others. Then you admit that you're an egomaniac?" Sheldon seized the opportunity to fight back. "Yes." Leonard turned to face everyone. "I, Dr. Leonard Hofstadter, have never pleased my parents, so I want to get my self-esteem back from you strangers." Hard. Ron clearly saw the fist of the scientist next to him harden. Ron felt that if the two of them didn't fight among themselves and let others have their fun, they would be beaten so badly that their mothers wouldn't even recognize them. Leonard continued to accuse Sheldon, "But he's even worse," Sheldon replied, putting his finger on his forehead and making a gesture of using the force. Leonard pushed his hand away. "Enough, stop it." Ron took the walker and took a few steps forward. They were about to fight. He couldn't miss this big show. "You can't blow my head with your mind." Sheldon continued to make that childish gesture. "Then I can give you an aneurysm." "Stop it." Leonard pulled Sheldon's hand away. Sheldon was shocked and condemned Leonard's bad behavior to the audience. "You actually hit me. You all saw it. He hit me, every day. Computer games and violent movies are making him a callous person. You wanted to blow my head first, so it worked." Sheldon was ecstatic. "No, you are just a lunatic now." Leonard was mad. "Then let's see who is the crazy one." Sheldon continued to activate the force, and did not forget to remind the audience in the front row, "Raise your heads, people in the first row. This is the radiation zone of the force." "Stop it." "I won't." The two of them tried to activate the force, and one of them tried to stop him frantically. Ron was almost laughing mad, and his hands were almost unsteady for recording. Penny was a little anxious. "That's your brother. Are you sure you don't want to manage him?" "It's okay. Sheldon is a smart kid since he was young," Ron replied, and then continued to record. Penny had to ask Howard on the other side for help with confusion. "You physicists often do this." Howard is also an old photographer, and he continued to record the wonderful shots without raising his head, "More often than you think. P.S. There will be another update at 2 or 3 o'clock. Go to bed first. Good night." Chapter 75, Talking Subao. Sheldon and Leonard were beaten black and blue, but the downside was that they almost made the Cooper family lose face. The upside was also obvious, that is, seeing their miserable state, the scientists who were watching basically calmed down and had no impulse to trouble them again, and Ron also successfully got a free meal. However, Sheldon and Leonard were not so lucky, and could only leave in disgrace under the glares of everyone. "Ron, did you see that just now?" Howard came over with excited eyes. Just now Sheldon actually wanted Leonard to drive him home. Ron paused for a moment while eating. I guess Leonard must not agree. He didn't drive over Sheldon, which I think is enough to show how well educated he is. "Sheldon is your brother, is it really okay for you to say that to him?" Penny swallowed a mouthful of food and said. As a lower-class white person, Penny, even the person she was dating was also a lower-class guy before. Even if Penny followed to eat for free, how good food could those hooligans who didn't have a proper job take Penny to eat? This was her first time attending such a high-end dinner, so Penny's indecent eating habits were understandable. "He's still your neighbor. Can you guarantee that you won't go crazy if you're alone with him for a day? But they are good friends, don't worry. There's an old Chinese saying that goes, fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot of the bed. I guarantee that they'll be back to square one in one night at most." Ron wasn't worried at all, and even had the leisure to take the bread out of Penny's plate. But in the process, his finger was almost bitten off by Penny. "Ron," Penny stared at him angrily, "this is a buffet, because it's a buffet." Ron smiled, and Penny's attitude softened. Yes, she was being crazy again. Why eat staple food? Lobster is just as filling. Howard and Rajesh, who were serving dishes nearby, heard this and silently put the bread back on their plates and switched to more expensive foods such as lobster steak. One is a thrifty Jew, and the other is an Indian who loves to take advantage of small bargains. This behavior is very reasonable. Howard's mother is a woman who would take an extra handful of ketchup even when she goes to KFC. "Howard, when will my little toy prototype be ready?" Ron asked Howard after finishing his meal. "I'll stay up all night in the office at school tonight, and I can guarantee that you can get it tomorrow morning." When it comes to things related to his major, Howard is full of confidence. "Of course, I need Rajesh to cooperate with my work." "Are you sure?" "Actually, it's not that urgent. Anyway, there are no particularly important tasks recently, and Ron doesn't mind getting it later, as long as the quality is good enough." "No, we can't wait to play with it." Howard's words caused Rajesh to nod frantically in agreement. Ron covered his face. These two guys seemed to really treat the drone as a toy, just like two children who were eager to buy toys. However, thinking about the original time and space, as soon as the drone was launched, they couldn't wait to buy it back to play with it, and Ron was relieved again. It seems that there is nothing wrong with this. After the military development, it can be sold as a toy to make up for the loss. "Do you need my help?" "Of course not. This is a professional job. Just leave it to us. You don't even need to provide the materials. We can just use the ones available in the school." Howard continued to show the Jewish shrewdness. "You just need to get a good night's sleep and think about where we can find a girl of the quality of yesterday." "Yesterday's girl?" Penny raised her head alertly. "Ron, which girl did you help them to harm again?" "I swear, the girl yesterday was absolutely willing." "You are too stingy with their charm," Ron said, winking at the two people, meaning not to tell them about his connection with Hollywood, and the latter immediately understood. Ron is good at helping friends, but it doesn't mean that he wants to see Penny's embarrassing acting skills in movies and TV. Besides, he doesn't have that much face. God knows how many favors he has to spend to help Penny find a role. So, Penny should continue to do her promising job as a waiter. Penny looked at the three people suspiciously, always feeling that they seemed to have some secrets. The three smiled at each other, and everything was self-evident. After a good meal and a good drink, Howard and Rajesh almost helped each other out of the hotel. They went back to school to build drones. Penny went back early because she was too worried about the two people in the apartment. Ron felt that Penny might have had some feelings for Leonard at this time, but just like her previous bad relationships, the silly girl didn't know how to fall in love with a man who was not a gangster. Ron thought for a moment in the hotel lobby. In order to avoid running into his dear brother, he decided not to go back to the apartment tonight and stayed in the original room of the hotel. Megan's preparation didn't work. Ron slept alone tonight. The next day, Ron finally recovered 100% of his physical strength and energy and woke up. After a simple wash, he changed into sportswear and went for a morning run. The hotel is very close to Hollywood, so he didn't have the opportunity to see Kobe, who started practicing basketball at 4:30 in the morning, but as he ran, he found that the dilapidated path behind the hotel was very familiar. This seems to be the road to Max's house? Is this the will of heaven? Seeing that he slept too much at night, should I give him some meat? What's more rare is that while running, Ron found an extremely sexy butt in front of him. Holding the horse in one hand and carrying a large shovel in the other, the butt swayed with every step, in exactly the same rhythm as the horse's butt next to it, walking and chatting with the horse. Ron had never seen Max so cute before. Hey, men, let me ask you something. You, the horse, and Caroline both live with me, but why do you make me worry less? Tell me, after all, you have known each other for much longer than I have. I don't know, man, I'm used to it. Max pinched his throat, pretending to learn to speak like a horse, and then restored his voice. If you could speak, it would be this voice, horse, of course, my voice is so cute, everything you say is right, Maximum Max, thank you, Sue Bayo, horse, you really should kill her, I mean Caroline. Max was shocked. Sue Bayo. We can't do this, horse, it's easy to kill her, let's kill her and eat her. One person and one horse, to be precise, one person and a dubbed horse. Max took on all the lines. Ron couldn't help laughing as if he was watching a stand-up comedy. Haha, Max, you're so cute. P.S. Done, good night. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.